page. Please subscribe to the program. You can find us streaming live on Facebook. That's on the Chatterbox Sports page, or in podcast form. Just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman wherever you find your podcast, and you'll be dialed in. Is this the first misfire of the offseason for the Bengals? You have to believe they wanted Vonn Bell back, right? I mean, he's only 28 years old. He's been a captain all 3 years he's been a Bengal. And by all accounts, he's the heart and soul and the leader of that defense. You knew Jesse Bates was leaving. That became official yesterday. 4 years, $64 million with Atlanta. We also knew that the second-year player Dax Hill is the guy who is going to take Bates' place alongside Bell. But now Bell is a Carolina Panther. I didn't see this one coming, did you? All I remember the words of Lou Anarumo at the Combine. He was asked about losing Bell and Bates in his complicated scheme defensively. He said that would be a dark day if we lost both of them. That has now happened. The team did re-sign linebacker Jermaine Pratt. He gets 3 years, $21 million. He said he wants to be a 3-down linebacker. He might get that chance now. We'll cover the rest of the day in the NFL here shortly, but want to get to our main man. All things in the National Football League, former Super Bowl winning head coach Brian Billick is back with us, kind enough to join us. How are you, young man? I mean, you got the golf shirt on, but it looks like you're hanging there in Columbus, Ohio. It's snowing here. Is it sunny and 80 there?
No, thank God for indoor simulators. No, it is. We had a little dusting, and it is cold and chilly up here.
Yes, it is. All right, walk me through, Brian, this time of year from a head coaching standpoint. You got so many moving pieces. I mean, I don't know how anybody keeps track of all of this player movement in the National Football League. As a coaching staff, or with your general manager, your days with Ozzie Newsome, or ownership, or your cap guy, are you sitting around almost nonstop right now for 4 or 5 days to figure this whole thing out?
You are, and there is no figuring it out. You know, it's like a Rubik's Cube that's constantly moving, and whatever it is you thought you knew, okay, this is what it's going to take to keep this player or that player, all of a sudden it changes, particularly with the cap expanding the way it is right now. And it's a tough time because you want to keep everybody. And it can be frustrating. And I know Ozzie always used to come in and you know, if you just come in and say, well, this is going to cost this is going to cost that, you kind of think, well, okay, I'm like the government. I'll just keep printing money. It's not my money. I'll just keep spending it. But he would always do a good job of going, well, okay, if we keep player A, we lose B, C, D, and E. And then it becomes very real. So there's that constant balancing of, is this one player worth losing these types of players? Plus, there's opportunities. You kind of focus on the other side. That's where the coaches are right now. I mean, you know who you want to keep, and that's up for the money people to say, okay, can you make those deals within the parameters that fit the cap for us? But for the coaches, you go on the premise that, okay, I'm going to lose some guys. So you're knee deep right now, just coming out of the combine. So you've been very focused on the college players, and you have been leading up to it as well. But right now you are knee deep in looking at, okay, what's available? If we lose a Vonn Bell, if we lose a Jesse Bates, what's out there in free agency? What's a good deal? Because there will be some deals. And then you balance it with, Ozzie always used to say, I want to make the moves in free agency that allow us to draft and don't have to dictate what our draft is going to be, so that you're reaching for players by position. So there's going to be some deals out there as well.
You know, I mentioned right before you came on that Lou Anarumo said, the defensive coordinator of the Bengals, had said that it would be his darkest day if the team lost both Bates and Bell. I think everybody around here knew Bates was gone after they tried to sign him to a long-term deal. They liked Dax Hill, their number one pick from a year ago, to sort of step in there with Bates. I think everybody felt like Bell would come back. From a coaching standpoint, and I know your side was more the offensive side than the defense, but you had to oversee the whole thing. How much of a roll of the dice is it, theoretically, if you walked into a season with two very young safeties as starters for a team that's trying to get and win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's tough at the safety position. Corners you can cover to a degree because you can isolate them on one side. The safeties kind of have to hold it together, and they have to kind of work in tandem. It's okay if you're doing this, then I'll augment it and I'll do that. And you're obviously communicating with the corners so they know what's going on as well. So that is a tough position. You hate to lose both. You'd like to have one veteran safety, and there are some out there that'll come available. That you look around the league, and Devin McCourty in New England, would be a veteran guy that certainly they might look at. Terrell Edmonds coming out of Pittsburgh. So there's opportunities out there, but to have both, if they're counting on drafting, which is certainly they're capable of doing, young safeties and them being the starters, to have two young safeties, that's tough.
The last time we talked, you were starting to do a shift, and you admittedly said you did not see this coming when you were doing the radio analysis for the Ravens there at the end of the year when they played the Bengals about the whole Lamar Jackson thing. They give him the non-exclusive tag, which means another team can sign him. The Ravens then have the decision to match that offer sheet or let him go to the other team and they get 2 first-round draft picks. Where do you see all that now after all this has taken place?
It's a predictable move by the Ravens because it's okay. We'll let someone else do the negotiating. Okay, now you don't have to get drawn in with the player and the eventual, I'm being disrespected. And I always love that when players who you're offering 40, 50, 60 million, in this instance, 250, 300 million. Well, I was disrespected by the offer. You disrespect me all you want for 50, 60, 80 million dollars. But now the Ravens can say, okay, we weren't able to come to accommodation. All right, you go have at it. See what the market wants to pay you. And you'll let someone else do the negotiation. And then you can either match it or, you're going to get the draft choices. Remember the Ravens, their most recent experience in this was negotiating and signing a Joe Flacco after the Super Bowl year. And he bet on himself. He bet on the come and obviously had a great run there. And they gave him what was at the time a big mega quarterback contract. And it never really, he played okay, but never really panned out, really didn't get a return on your investment. And so and I know Steve Bisciotti's very cognizant of this. And they love Lamar Jackson. They'd love to have him back, but they're going to do it within their parameters. And he's going to, they're going to pay him what he's worth. I always remember the Art Rooney story of saying, I don't mind overplaying for good players. I just don't want to overpay for bad players. Yep. And not that Lamar Jackson's a bad player, but they have parameters to say, okay, this is what it's worth and this is what we'll pay. And if that'll happen, this is fair and this is good for the club and we can deal with that. If not, and they're pretty disciplined about not chasing deals. You see it more with the other contracts. I remember all the time we'd come and say, okay, well, this player, it's only going to take us X to sign him. And inevitably it come back X plus. And I'm thinking, well, can we just go the plus? Can we just squeeze a little bit more? And Ozzie and the group were pretty disciplined and going, no, that there's a price to pay when you do that. So we're going to kind of stay within the parameters. And that's one of the reasons they've been so good.
Do you see the Ravens as a team? There was a story yesterday in The Athletic that they believe somebody's going to sign Lamar Jackson. The Ravens are not going to match it. They're going to make a trade to try and go get a quarterback. And in The Athletic it was yesterday, they had Anthony Richardson as a guy that they would move up to the 4 or 5 hole and pick this guy. Do you see Ozzie Newsome as that kind of guy making that deal? I mean, DeCosta laid it out there, their general manager, that they have been a team that will make a trade, but would they make that kind of trade? You know all the people in the room.
They tend not to, but in this circumstance, it's because you can't look at the decisions to keep Lamar, to pay him, to not pay him in a vacuum. Okay, it has to always be, okay, if not, then what? Well, then what is in conjunction with, okay, what do we think of the quarterback market? Can we get that? Now, as we know, that's an iffy proposition. Now, they've been pretty good, in what they've, but hubris can kick in here and you can be a little not as good as you think you are. Well, we got this figured out. We know how to draft quarterbacks now. Okay, maybe. Because regardless of whether it's Stroud or Young or Richardson or all of them, history tells us that there's no reason they shouldn't be good quarterbacks in the NFL, but half of them are going to fail. So,
well, that was a chapter in your book, which I thought was just fascinating, about the whole quarterback thing and how you think that a guy and this and that, and the 1-year starter thing as opposed to a 2 or 3 year guy. All right, last two questions here. This Aaron Rodgers thing, I mean, if we think we've talked about Lamar Jackson, could you imagine being somebody who's trying to follow the Green Bay Packers? This Aaron Rodgers thing, it seems to me, you tell me if you felt the same way. It seems to me that their president, Mark Murphy, who was an outstanding player for a long time in the NFL, it seems to me that they have come to the end of the rope on this thing. And I never thought in a million years that Rodgers was leaving. It's starting to look like Rodgers might be leaving.
Yeah, I think, and there's a lot to do with it. Remember, they've been through this before with Brett Favre. Now they had an Aaron Rodgers in the wings. Whether they think they've got that in the wings or not, or can do adjust to it. The thing that adds to it here, and we all agree, Aaron Rodgers is still a great player, a difference maker, elite quarterback, future Hall of Famer, and still can play. But at this late stage in his career, and with some of the things he's doing, coming out of the dark and all that, you kind of wonder, all right, what are the priorities here? When you had a Tom Brady, when you had a Peyton Manning, and these transitions were in the offing, the one thing you could count on is we know the priorities are right. We know the commitment. If he wants to play, he's committed to play. And right now, is Rodgers there? I don't know. It seems like there's a lot. He flirted with doing the game show thing and all that. I'm not sure where his head is right now, and so I can see where the Packers are going. You know what? This is probably not something we should chase as much as we'd love to keep him. We know he's a great player, but too many moving parts right now, and the aura he's created around him, I'd be a little concerned if I were the Packers or a team signing him. Having said that, now goes to the right team. If he is motivated, he's going to be the difference maker.
All right, Brian, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us, my friend. Great to see you. All the best to the family. Tell Kim hello, grandkids, everybody. Hope you're well, my friend. Great seeing you. Thanks for your time.
All right, man.
Brian Billick, he's the best. He is the best. And he's dialed in on what's happening. Dialed in.
Absolutely.
Love getting his perspective about, kind of taking you inside the offices down at Paycor. He's like, everybody's there right now. Everybody's there. And he used the analogy of a Rubik's Cube. I mean, I was sitting here trying to write this monologue for last night. And every time I hit refresh on a couple of websites, there were 2 or 3 guys signing contracts with somebody else. And we're not even there yet. We're really there tomorrow. That's the first full day of free agency. We mentioned Bates to the Falcons. Now, how about their day? They signed 6 players in 12 hours, including Pro Bowl right guard Chris Lindstrom. The Kansas City Chiefs signed Jawan Taylor, an elite tackle who joins the NFL's best offense. It's almost unfair to think about. We talked about Aaron Rodgers. Is he really going to the Jets? Starting to look that way. Denver. First they hire Sean Payton. Yesterday they hit free agency, and I mean hit it with a bang. Signing 49ers standout tackle Mike McGlinchey to a 5-year deal. Then they add Baltimore standout guard Ben Powers to a 4-year, $50 million deal. Then late in the day, add former Cardinal defensive end Zach Allen on a 3-year contract, and even get a backup quarterback in Jarrett Stidham on a 2-year deal. The Raiders lost Derek Carr, and now they have Jimmy G. Jimmy Garoppolo, the former 49er, is now reunited with his former offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels. He was with him in New England, now with him in Vegas. Garoppolo, 3 years, $67.5 million. Roughly half of that is guaranteed. The NCAA men's basketball tournament officially begins tonight right up the road from here. About 20-minute ride in Dayton, Ohio. Southeast Missouri State. Paul Fritchner is one of the only human beings on the planet that has stayed up very late to watch them and or Texas A&M Corpus Christi. That is a 6:40 game. Then you have, we're going to talk more about this later because Paul pointed out we're talking about the show. The 11 seed matchup tonight in Dayton has Pitt against Mississippi State. Now, why is that a big deal? I mean, under normal circumstances, who cares? But the winner of that game will play Iowa State in the opening round of the tournament. And the winner of that game has a chance to play Xavier in a second round game. Other news, Temple coach Aaron McKee, interesting deal here. He was let go as head coach yesterday, but he will remain at the school as an advisor. McKee was a great player under John Chaney during the heyday at Temple. Former great Damon Stoudemire is a new head coach at Georgia Tech. He coached at the collegiate level, 3 different schools, including his alma mater at Arizona, and most recently served as an assistant for the Boston Celtics of the NBA. In baseball, former Red Trevor Bauer can't get a gig after his suspension was lifted in Major League Baseball, so he's headed to the land of the rising sun, Japan, on a 1-year deal. The United States hammered Canada, naturally, at the World Baseball Classic 12-1. Mike Trout hit a 3-run home run. Lance Lynn, 5 innings of excellent baseball. Team USA now 2-1 so far. Next up, Colombia on Wednesday night. And the Reds were shut out by the Brewers 8-0. Cactus League play continues later on today for the Redlegs. All right, we have Rick Broering coming up. He is the color analyst alongside play-by-play man Jim Kelch of the NKU broadcasts, but he also is the publisher of Musketeer Report. So he's coming up at about 10:30, and then, of course, the Tracer at 11:30. We thank Brian Billick for his time today. We're going to talk a lot more about the NFL, what's going on. But, Paul, let's get right to this 11-seed matchup tonight.
Yeah, it's Pitt and Mississippi State.
By the way, good morning, gentlemen.
Oh,
good morning, Tom.
Yes.
Good morning. Always
Good
nice
morning.
to say good morning first before you get right into business.
How are you today?
Everything's groovy, man.
Good.
I mean, I'm solo with our son right now. He was on his game last night. Marymount looked like Marymount last night in lacrosse. Big win, last scrimmage of the year, season opener Saturday. Out there in the freezing cold. Gamers! Now proceed on to basketball.
Pitt and Mississippi State play tonight. This is, like you said, Tom, this is a game that probably means a little bit more to this show than the game tomorrow night. The weird thing this year is usually the team that plays on Tuesday will then play on Thursday, and the team that plays on Wednesday will play on Friday. Both play-in games play on Friday. So the team that wins tonight gets an extra day's rest than normal years. Not that means a whole lot, but just if you're looking at the tournament.
That is sort of weird, though. You're right.
I don't know if that's ever happened before. I can't remember a time.
Yeah, I can't remember either. That's interesting.
Usually,
go ahead, please.
But both play-ins happen on Friday. So tonight's game, Pitt, Mississippi State, kind of an interesting game only because, like you said, the winner would then play Iowa State. Winner could potentially face Xavier on Sunday afternoon. This is a weird matchup because Pitt is a team that has at times this year been able to score, but they're in a down ACC, a really bad ACC. Pitt competed for the ACC regular season title. They got off to kind of a bad start this year, and then from there rallied in the ACC play. Problem is they didn't close very strong. They lost 3 of their last 5 games. The only 2 wins in there were to Syracuse and Georgia Tech. Both of those teams not very good, the bottom of a bad ACC.
Yep.
They lost to Notre Dame by 7, but they also have some big wins. They beat Miami. North Carolina is not maybe the most marquee win, but they do have a win at North Carolina. They beat Virginia. They have some wins.
Those
there.
are 2 nice wins, Miami and Virginia.
Yeah.
I don't think Virginia's any great thing, and neither's Miami, but they're 2 rock-solid teams.
No, you're absolutely right. And they lost then to Miami in the regular season finale. Then on the flip side of that, you have Mississippi State, who I heard a pretty good description of Mississippi State. they are a poor man's Iowa State. So if Mississippi State and
What
Iowa,
does that mean? Do you think slow it down, grind it out?
They both play one of the slowest tempos in the country. They are both elite defensive teams, and neither team can score. But Mississippi State can't score worse than Iowa State can't score. So if Mississippi State and Iowa State play each other, it's going to be like a 50 to 45 game.
Yeah.
And you're going to see like 61 possessions in that game, and it's just going to be grind you down. So this game tonight, honestly, is probably a little more aesthetically pleasing than the potential Mississippi State-Iowa State game would be on Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. That would be after Xavier finishes. So I think a Pitt, if you're just looking at like fun matchups in the NCAA tournament, you're probably rooting for Pitt here just because they would at least pose a different problem to Iowa State than Mississippi State would. I don't think either of these teams beat Iowa State, but Pitt would at least give Iowa State more of an issue because if you're Mississippi State, you're not going to beat Iowa State at their own game unless you just literally play the game in the 40s and you hope that, like we've always talked about, you get into that low possession game and then you just hope that maybe you have the ball on the, you have the ball with 30 seconds left in the tie game and you make the shot. Like that's kind of what you're going at here for Mississippi State. But they finished 21-12. They had a better close to the season than Pitt did, but they still lost to Vanderbilt and Missouri. They're 2 of their last 4 games. They did have that win over Texas A&M, which is nice. They beat Missouri. They beat TCU in the SEC Big 12 or SEC Big 12 Challenge. That was a great win for Mississippi State. That was in overtime at home. But then they lost to Alabama, got absolutely torched by Alabama in the SEC quarterfinals on Friday, 72-49. And that, Tom, goes back to where I say they cannot score the basketball. They are quite literally the worst team in all of college basketball shooting the three. So don't expect a whole lot of points tonight. I don't even know what the total is, but whatever it is, you're probably leaning in the under there.
I'll tell you, when I hear, and I've watched a little bit of Mississippi State, I just sit here and say to myself, when I think about this first 4, the one team that jumps off the map to me, and I know there's more than one. I get it. You can talk about Oklahoma State. Vanderbilt played very well at the end of the year. Neither one of those teams made the tournament. But I got to tell you, the team to me that got a total raw deal, and maybe you could argue numbers, analytics, that kind of thing, but I thought Rutgers really got a raw deal on this thing. I mean, I look at some of the teams they beat over the course of the year that are playing in the NCAA tournament. They beat Purdue, okay? They beat Purdue at Purdue, I might add. They also had a win over Indiana. They lost to Miami, but they had wins over tournament teams. Maryland is in the tournament. They beat Maryland. They beat Penn State. They beat Northwestern. I just sit there and I think to myself, they beat Michigan State, who's also in the tournament.
If they would have,
I think Rutgers got jobbed on this deal, especially compared to Mississippi State and Pitt, who play in far less strenuous conferences than the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from there. I think if they would have advanced ahead of further into the Big Ten tournament, I mean, they won their first game against Michigan, right?
But they played Purdue better than anybody in the Big Ten tournament. Yeah, they lost by 5 on a game that went down to the final minute of the game.
It's true.
Right. The one thing that I will say about Rutgers is they have 2 losses that stick out. One is to Minnesota. You can't lose to Minnesota. And they have a loss to Temple. That's a bad loss. Those are 2 really bad losses. And the other thing, Tom, which is actually kind of wild to think about, Rutgers has a loss to Seton Hall. The score of that game was 45-43. Grinder, low-scoring game. Seton Hall, because they lost to DePaul in the Big East quarterfinal, no, that was the first round. That was on
game,
Wednesday night. Remember that game? Seton Hall goes up for the layup right at the end. Nick Ongenda from DePaul comes, blocks the ball away. DePaul wins that game. If Nick Ongenda is not there and he makes that layup and Seton Hall wins that game,
You mean? Yes. Yeah. Forgive me.
If
Seton
I'm
Hall
saying,
yes,
if
yes,
DePaul's
yes,
if DePaul's guy's not there,
Yep.
Seton Hall makes that layup, and Seton Hall wins that game, they stay as a quad 2 game for Rutgers. That stays as a quad 2 loss. But because they lost to DePaul, Seton Hall dropped to a quad 3 loss, which when you're splitting hairs there at the end.
Yep.
So maybe you blame DePaul for the downfall of Rutgers there for not getting in the tournament, because
what a twist.
When you talk about how just a margin for error, the razor thin margin for error, and adding one quad 3 loss to your resume, that block at the end of that game at MSG at the very last second of a game at the end of the season potentially could have been something that shifted the scales. Just when you're really, really getting into the weeds of it. That is just kind of a funny butterfly effect to look at. I do see your Rutgers argument. I personally would have had Rutgers in the field, but I don't think that I can sit here and make a solid argument to say that they deserved it over whoever, Nevada maybe. I think Nevada was actually the team that most people, more so than Pitt or Mississippi State, Nevada was actually the team.
Come on. League they play in, come on. Now, Mississippi State beat Marquette. But again, it's like the Seton Hall loss for Rutgers. That was really early in the year.
Yeah.
You're talking November. I mean, and that's back when we've talked about this with Marquette many times. They were picked by the coaches to finish 9th in the Big East this year. So when they lose a game to Mississippi State on November the 21st, 58-55, everybody's like, okay. I mean, it's not a big, huge surprise. I mean, nobody's thinking Marquette's going to be anything. But I started going through Mississippi State, and I'm looking now for anybody they beat. You said TCU. TCU had 2 guys miss that game. I watched that game on television. I mean, you go through the rest of the year, they got a win against Missouri. Okay, Missouri's had a decent year. They lose to Kentucky at home, and Kentucky's no great shakes. I don't think A&M's all any great shakes. So, Vanderbilt beat them near the end of the year. That's another team that could have made an argument for being in, especially the way they finished. I don't know. I think Rutgers would hammer Mississippi State and hammer Pitt, but I could be wrong. All right. But we'll never know. That's the beauty of life. We will just never know. But what we do know is that kind enough to join us today, Rick Broering. We mentioned he is the radio analyst for the Norse. We love the Norse here. Alongside Jim Kelch, and he's also the publisher of Musketeer Report, so he's dialed in on both teams that are headed for the NCAA tournament from right here in Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. Rick, thanks for the time today. Are you heading out of town today with NKU?
That's right. Jim Kelch and I are headed up to Truist Arena here in about 30 minutes to join the team bus and then the charter flight out to Birmingham.
All right, I won't keep you long. Look, everybody and his brother, nobody's given NKU a chance. Why do they have a chance?
Well, let's start with the obvious. How healthy is Marcus Sasser's groin? That's the big storyline, right? I mean, that's their go-to guy. He's one of their top defenders out there. I think that's the biggest question mark right now, is that right there. Also, Tom, I don't think I need to remind you, with you being such a Norse fan, NKU's undefeated against the American Athletic Conference this year.
That's exactly right. They beat UC. There's no doubt about it. That was a huge win for the Norse this season. They got them off and running, but we've had Coach Horn many times this year, and so grateful for it. But at least right now, Rick, and when you win a conference tournament, I mean, everybody can say, well, you're playing good basketball to get in the NCAA tournament. But the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, they are really playing well. They've got to feel good about where they are and how they're playing right now. If Sasser's not in, if Sasser is in, what needs to happen for them to have a chance in this game?
Well, to your point about them playing their best basketball here at the end of the year, I think the biggest thing that made a difference from a month and a half, 2 months ago to now is all the support that Marquez Work has been getting on the offensive end from some of the secondary guys. He's their go-to guy. There's no doubt about it. But when you get Sam Vincent scoring, Trey Robinson pitches in, Trayvon Faulkner is knocking down some big shots and giving you big plays in transition. And let's not forget about the point guard, Xavier Rhodes, who made some crucial plays in the semifinals and finals of the Horizon League tournament. they have really gotten some great production out of some of those other guys aside from just Warwick. And I think that's definitely going to be needed here against Houston if they're going to have any chance in this one.
Well, Houston loves to bang the boards. They're a defensive-minded team. Grind. And listen, the big fella's done a great job for you guys this year. I mean, this guy, in terms of getting on the offensive glass, he's as good as anybody in the country that I've seen.
Well, he really is, and he's going to be so key in this matchup because Houston has the one-and-done freshman, Jarris Walker, who's 6'8", 240 pounds, skilled, can do a little bit of everything on the offensive end. That's going to be a really big matchup for Chris Brandon. And obviously NKU plays a matchup zone, so it's not one-to-one, but he's going to have a big responsibility on his shoulders for slowing down Walker inside.
All right, shift gears very quickly. I know you got to go to Xavier. They played very well their first couple of games in the they got by DePaul, and then they played very well in beating Creighton. Then they get mauled by Marquette. How do you feel about their chances going into this tournament? There's some people see them going to the Final Four. Clark Kellogg saw that. There are other people that have them getting bounced in the second round against Iowa State. Where do you think they are?
I've been pretty consistent on this for a few months now that I think this is a team with the potential to get to the second weekend of the tournament. After that, all bets are off. I mean, once you're into the Sweet 16, that goes for almost any team that who knows what's going to happen after that because it's so matchup dependent. And in a one-game scenario, you can catch a team on the wrong night who's shooting hot and you're going to have issues. So for this Xavier team, I think the big thing that they showed in the Big East tournament is that they still have a high ceiling even without Zach Freemantle. If you're able to beat that Creighton team the way they beat Creighton in the semifinals, you've got a chance to play with anyone in the country. And to do what they did without Zach Freemantle, if I were a Xavier fan, that would give me a lot of hope going into the postseason.
All right, if they win the first game, last question. Who do you think would fit Xavier to have a better chance of winning in that next game? Iowa State's been through a rugged Big 12 season. They've had a lot of big wins. They've had, they've tailed off here near the end. Mississippi State and Pitt will be the opponent. Any one of the three that you say to yourself, or two of the three, I like their chances better against?
Well, definitely Pitt is the matchup that I'd be looking for if I were a Xavier fan. The reason for that is Pitt is kind of similar to Xavier in the sense that they're offensive-minded, but they're not an elite offense like Xavier. They're a pretty good offense, and they're bad defensively, really bad. So a team like that wants to get out and score and run a little bit with Xavier, but they're not an elite offense, they're going to get ran out of the gym, in my opinion. That could be a 100 to 85 or 90 type game potentially. So I think Pitt is definitely the matchup I'd be looking for. But really, any of those three would seem to be pretty favorable matchups for this Xavier team right now. I think they got a really good draw, Tom.
All right. Hey, Rick, safe travels. Godspeed ahead. We really appreciate your time today, and hopefully we'll be checking in with you after NKU and Xavier wins. Starting this
Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate having me on, and I enjoy the show.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it very, very much. Kind enough to join us, Rick Boring. I mean, we talk about dialed in. We said the same thing with Brian Billick a little while ago. Paul, you've known Rick a long, long time. I mean, he's got it all covered. You want to know what's happening with either school, he's your guy.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah, Rick and I have done a podcast for years together. I mean, he's been covering Xavier for, probably 15 years now. So, and he went to NKU, and now he's on the broadcast. He's got everything around the area.
So is he the kind of guy, if he's not doing an NKU game on radio or traveling with a team, is he the kind of guy that all of a sudden he'll be down at the Cintas Center when X is playing?
Yeah, so his priority obviously is the NKU radio broadcast, but when there's no conflict, he does go to cover the game as media at Xavier. So
gotcha.
He's there either way.
All right, Ham and Eggers, I'm going to throw it to you. We got lots to talk about today. We got Tracy Jones coming up in a little less than an hour, but we got to get into this whole tournament thing. Some of the questions. Sasser, it looks like Bill Self is going to be back.
Yeah, that's huge.
Coaching along the sideline. That's great stuff for Kansas. So, Mr. President, the Ham and Eggers, here we go.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Casey, before I get into things, you feeling okay today?
Yeah, I'm feeling great.
Just in general? Just checking in?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Feeling good. How about you?
We're okay. NCAA tournament starts tonight. We're great. We're good. You know why I'm good? It's because I have some Pawnee water in front of me. It's a new premium alkaline water, Pawnee. Made in Hamilton, Ohio, Pawnee uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also the best tasting water in the world. Visit their website at pawneewater.com. That's PAHHNI water.com. PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Also, we talked about the Bengals. We are going to get much more into the Bengals, Von Bell, Jesse Bates, all of that here in just a minute. But we talked about it a little bit already, and that is brought to you by Encore Technologies. The Bengals Report brought to you by Encore Technologies, who provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
productivity.
One of these days, I'm going to catch you off guard. One of these days, you're going to be fixing a camera, going to be doing something. Maybe you won't.
I'll never miss again.
Maybe you won't. Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Drink Pawnee water, get your coffee from UDF, bet with Betfred, and get your technology solutions from Encore.tech. So that is all the business on my end, Casey. Is there any business on your end that we need to take care of?
Let me think about that. No, I don't think so. I don't think there's anything on my end that we need to really discuss. I will say that when we, just before we get into some of the Bengals stuff, if there's anyone out there that is worried about the Bengals and what they're going to do, it's fine. We're into day 2.
Here we are. That's what I like to hear.
We're into day 2.
We're talking people off the ledge here. The Bengals. Casey.
Hey, listen, if you ever want to get off the ledge when it comes to the Bengals, just listen to Casey McAllister. If you ever want to get off the ledge when it comes to Xavier men's basketball or any other Xavier sport for that matter, you just talk to Paul Fritzner, and you're good.
That's all you need. Me and Paul for Xavier Bengals.
I got to tell you, Casey, I'm really, really surprised that you're not a little more up in arms about this Von Bell thing. I got to tell you, I am. I asked the question, is it the first misstep of free agency? And here's the thing, we were talking about this beforehand. I am amazed at how many people that do not sit in the power broker's room, okay? And it doesn't mean to say you can't have a great opinion or a great take by not sitting in that room. Okay? I mean, it's kind of like, I heard somebody make the case years ago. Somebody said something stupid like, well, you've never been president. You can't criticize a president. Really? I mean, come on, right? If whoever's in the White House is doing a crappy job, you have every right in the world to write about it and have an opinion on it. You're entitled to do that. But I'm amazed by some of the people that are coming out and sort of just, brushing it off that Von Bell and Jesse Bates are gone. When Lou Anarumo makes a comment at the Combine, he was asked the question point blank because both players were entering free agency. And apparently, and I can't dive into the X's and O's of a defensive coordinator, that's way above my pay scale, okay? So I'm going to defer to the guy who knows all about the X's and O's. But by all accounts, the Bengals ask more of their safeties in their scheme than perhaps any team in the National Football League. Okay? That's what I've heard. That's what I've been told. That's what I read. I'll believe it. And when Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, was asked the question about Bell and Bates not being on his defense for this coming season, in one of the strongest comments I have ever heard a coach, because most of it is straight coach speak, boring, blah, vanilla, why am I even interviewing this guy kind of stuff. He says it would be one of my darkest days. That's from the defensive coordinator. So to now have all these guys on Twitter and on whatever it is, oh, they're fine, no big deal. Well, maybe they will be fine. I'm not going to say they're not going to be fine. I went up and did a little digging early this morning about youth in the secondary. Now, no one's ever going to do what the San Francisco 49ers did in 1981. No one will ever do that. What did they do? They had 4 rookies in their secondary that won a Super Bowl, led by perhaps the greatest safety of all time in Ronnie Lott, a guy who cut his finger off in the middle of a game. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs last year drafted 4 players in the secondary. They had 2 rookies that got a lot of playing time in the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. But their defense under Steve Spagnuolo is a very different kind of defense than Lou Anarumo's playing. So what I'm getting at is, Casey, you are one of these guys, at least it strikes me on the surface, as being, oh, I'm okay. I'm all right. Not worried about it. Yay or nay? Is that you, or are we putting on, without putting on, the orange-colored glasses?
I think there's bigger fish to fry. That's where I'm kind of coming from when I'm saying that safety is not the biggest issue here. They don't have a single tight end on the roster yet. You'd think they would have gotten somebody. Like, that is a very key need, in my opinion, a very underrated need. And quite clearly, they didn't think that offensive tackle was a primary issue to address early on. So now we're looking at, fill-in guys here and there for those positions. Maybe not so much tight end. There's still plenty of guys that star talent there at that position. But at safety, if you were to look at Von Bell before he came to the Bengals, I think you would have said something to the degree of, yeah, he's about an average player. He's a good depth guy. He had a very mild career in New Orleans, was known as a thumper, box guy. He comes to Cincinnati with a guy beside him in Jesse Bates that allowed him to be able to play more aggressive, play in the box, allowed him to let Jesse Bates go sideline to sideline. You know what I mean? Like, there was a relationship there that allowed him to play a lot better than what I think he would have played at other teams. So I'm not necessarily upset that he's gone or that we didn't re-sign him. He's older, 28. That's just not the Bengals' MO anymore. They sign younger guys.
Yes, they do.
And I think a lot of the production is from the safety position is because the tandem there. And if you're not going to keep one, you might as well rethink how you play that position anyways on your defense and restart, because I don't think Bell would have been the same guy without Bates. I don't. I think you would have seen a step back, because there's just not a guy, at least that we know of right now. We don't know what Dax Hill was going to be, but we don't know if he's capable of going sideline to sideline and stretching the field like Bates was. Now, I think Dax Hill play style fits more the bill of Von Bell. But he's a smaller guy. He's like 195 and 6 foot, whereas Bell was 215. He's a thicker guy. Yeah. So I am worried in the sense of whatever guy they do decide to go fill, it's probably best for them to get a guy that can do both. A guy that can come down in the box and a guy that can go sideline to sideline, or, your free safety, the guy that plays deep most of the time. You got to get a guy that can do both. And for the Bengals right now, there's just not very many options like that in free agency. So I've put that notion to the side. They've got a guy that's been in the backfield for a long time and Michael Thomas to kind of bring up guys to speed. And the one thing that I feel like is very underrated is Tyson Anderson playing Von Bell's role. Same build, better athlete.
He was a guy they drafted a year ago, and he never got on the field. He had a hamstring injury and never played a game, not one down.
Right. I mean, I know what you're saying, but
I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying those are the facts. He didn't play all year last year because he was hurt.
Yeah, and he just never saw the field because Von Bell, Bates are taking up 95% of the snaps to begin with, and then you got Dax Hill who came in every once in a while, and you got guys like Michael Thomas that were veteran guys that you would rather plug in there, or you got guys like I can't think of the corner right now off the top of my head that
for the Bengals?
Yeah.
Awuzie? Hilton?
No. He usually came in to cover the tight ends.
Flowers?
Flowers. Trey Flowers was in that box corner.
And he's back.
And he's back. So, I mean, that's why he didn't get on the field. But the measurables there for Tyson Anderson, like he's an athlete. So you're not worried about that necessarily. You're more worried about, does he have it mentally? And the way that Lou Anarumo works and is operated, he gets guys up to speed on his defense. And sometimes it takes a guy a year to sit and learn the defense. So I'm not necessarily hitting the panic button when it comes to Von Bell leaving. I am more worried about just the fact that you're creating a problem that needs to be addressed if you don't answer it soon. So what I mean by that is they're going to have to spend a draft pick to fill in more depth there if they don't sign a guy. And honestly, there's a lot of guys out there that you can get cheap that maybe not play as well as Bell, but fill the role good enough. And you're banking on Dax Hill being the next Jesse Bates, in my opinion. I don't think you're banking on a guy being the next Von Bell.
If you're wondering about Anderson, he was a fifth-round pick, and again, he was hurt all year last year. He did not play a single down in the NFL, not one. He's an athlete, as Casey points out. This guy ran a 4.3 40 at the NFL Combine. He was a 5-year player at Toledo in the Mid-American Conference. Most of the guys who play for the Bengals are team captains of their collegiate teams, and that's exactly what he was, a team captain.
Casey, I got to ask you here. Lou Anarumo gave the whole dark day deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the tank, 1 being everything's peachy.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Which is it, Casey?
5 being like,
All right, so real quick, before he answers that question now, okay, do you mean, or before you go any further, I want to make sure we clarify, because I'd like to add to this question, unless you just want to stay. Are you asking him this question as it pertains to just the safety position? Or
No.
the Bengals as a whole?
well, the defense as a whole.
Okay.
'Cause
Let's start with the defense as a whole, because I have a follow-up to that question along the same lines. But the defense as a whole, you have Awuzie coming back from an ACL. You talked about the Bengals like youth. Mike Hilton's a little older, right? Flowers coming off an injury, the guy you just talked about. Can he get on the field, right? No Eli Apple anymore. So gone from the secondary last year are 3 starters in that secondary. Apple, Bates, Bell. How we looking? 10, 1, somewhere in the middle. 10 is your darkest day. It's your dark day. I mean, it's like on a beautiful sunny day, but all you see around you is pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face. Or 1, those beautiful blue skies. Nothing but sunshine.
I am probably hovering around a 6.
Wow.
I'm hovering around a 6 because
I am shocked.
I do think they will be missed a lot. I think they're gonna miss Bates and Bell together a lot. That was probably the best safety tandem, most underrated safety tandem in the league. But I do believe, however, that one could not survive without the other. I think separate, they might more Bell than Bates, but I think Bell will struggle a lot more without Bates. I think Bates was a special guy. The price tag for Bates was just too much. I knew they couldn't get that done. So what I'm hoping, and that's at 10 is there's no hope for me. That's the darkest day, is that there's no hope. The hope for me is that Dax Hill plays at a level that is either my greatest hope is that he's in between Bell and Bates. That's my greatest hope. And I don't think we can ask much more out of Dax Hill. And then you're hoping that you either get some solid depth there at the other spot, or you take a chance at the athlete that you drafted fifth over in the 5th round and traded up to go get him. It's not like, he just fell and nobody wanted him. The Bengals went up and got him. They loved the profile that he has. And let's be real here. I mean, they could theoretically put Cam Taylor-Britt back there too. And then
yes, they could.
Then you're looking at maybe just worrying about the corners, which no one's picked up Eli Apple yet. And everyone's going to be like, oh, Eli Apple. But the dude was solid as a 3rd-string corner. And he knows the system. And you can get him cheap. I think you could easily make an argument that you could draft a guy in the 3rd or 2nd round, either at safety or corner, and be fine.
Okay.
And
right.
I think that's what they'll end up doing, is they'll just wait till the later rounds. They'll wait till day 2 to get a guy in the corner position or the safety spot.
Okay, now I'm going to take this to another level entirely.
Yep.
We're going to go the macro view now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big word, macro, okay?
Yep.
I like what you did there.
Maybe not that big.
Well,
it's only 5 letters, but
depending on how big you look at
it sounds smart. I heard somebody use that word, and so now I use it like every 3rd sentence.
I mean, macro is a big word.
It is. Now let's take into account the defense, which I just talked about. You're in essence down 3 starters: Apple, Bell, Bates. For a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl, not trying to win a division, their goal is to win the Super Bowl. They have the talent to do it. Now you throw in major question marks at your tackle positions, both of them. Both of them.
Yeah.
Huge questions. You throw in the fact that you don't have a single tight end on the roster. Not one. Okay? None. N-U-N, none. If they have the tight ends meeting right now down at Paycor, nobody shows.
Yeah.
Okay? They have a running back in Mixon that most people feel like his contract is going to either be altered, or if he doesn't go for that, he's gone. Samaje Perine is a free agent. So it's again, potentially, you could be looking in a handful of days from now or a month from now where you have that meeting in the running backs room and nobody shows up. At least guys that have been big contributors. So knowing what we know about the defense, knowing what we know about tight end, knowing what we know about the running backs room, and knowing what we know about the offensive line, which is the single biggest question mark of this team. 10 is your darkest day. To quote the great philosopher Lou Anarumo, One is your bright, sunny Carolina blue skies when North Carolina used to be good at basketball. Which of those? Where are you sitting in that spectrum?
I am on the offense.
No, the
Or just
whole
the whole
team.
I was at a 6 on the defense. As a whole, I'm probably at a 7.5 as a whole, or maybe 8, which is really, it's getting to a point where the reason why I'm
Now I want to make sure you understand this, and I understand it. We're on the same page.
Yes.
So now when you go to 7 or 8, you're really moving closer and closer into Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat territory.
Yeah. I won't lie. I'm very nervous. I'm extremely nervous. And there's a reason why I'm leaning more towards the 7.5 than maybe a 5. And that's because I was already feeling helpless about the tackle situation in general, because the Bengals are stuck at left tackle with Jonah Williams.
They are stuck at left tackle with Jonah Williams. That is the perfect word.
And there's no way to get around it unless they find some schmuck to trade Jonah Williams to.
Did you just say schmuck?
Yes, some schmuck, because that's what they would be if they decided to trade for Jonah Williams. I mean, the idea, the best thing that could happen to the Bengals is that they could trade Jonah Williams. 100%, because that takes $12 million off your books. You go and get Orlando Brown, and then you go draft DeJuan Jones. Boom, fixed. Done. You have the perfect offseason because you just got the 2 biggest tackles in the NFL. You probably have the biggest offensive line in all football, and nobody is going to be touching Joe Burrow if that happens. 100%. But that's not going to happen because they have Jonah Williams on his 5th-year option that they decided
and I'm going to say, I'm not going to totally throw in the towel yet on Jonah Williams. I'm not. I don't put him in that turnstile category. He was borderline for a while last year, but he got his knee fixed. That, you would think, is no longer going to be an issue. He had the dislocated kneecap twice. The first time, he didn't miss a snap. The guy cares. He's a gamer, right?
Oh, no.
So maybe in his last year of his, of the 5th-year option deal, you might get a player who now 5 years, 5th year in, maybe you get the best you're going to get out of Jonah Williams. I think that's possible. Paul, are you as shocked as I am? Well, now we have all kinds. By the way, do you know the definition of a schmuck? I've been called a schmuck.
Oh, by who?
A lot of people. A lot. Person who's unlikable, contemptible, because he's stupid, foolish, clumsy, oafish, inept, malicious, or unpleasant.
Well,
that's your definition of schmuck.
That's what everybody in that said fandom would call their GM if that happened.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's never going to happen, right? I mean, I have lost a lot of hope. I had a lot of hope early on with Jonah Williams because I thought, just rookie struggles. Then I thought sophomore slump. Then it was, well, our whole offensive line was bad. Then this year rolls around, and it's like, man, we upgraded in a lot of spots, and he just gets worse and worse and worse every year. Every year he's gotten worse, and it's really tough knowing that the reason why you got him at number 9, I think is what we picked him at, was because he was this technically sound tackle. Didn't matter about his measurables because he was just so great technically that people just didn't beat him at the line due to technicality. It was due to just pure athleticism.
Good footwork, et cetera, et cetera.
And he has just progressively gotten worse and worse at that.
Boy.
And it's shown up on film. It's shown up just in games in general. And it's like he's not the right size at left tackle. He's got shorter arms.
So you've thrown in a towel on the guy. I mean, you're DUN. You're done.
I mean, I'm done with him.
You're done.
I'm done with him at left tackle.
Okay, all right. They're saying they're not going to move him to right tackle. Now, that could change, and Jonah Williams has always been a team-first guy. Paul, are you on the same
I'm just floored.
level?
I'm floored here. I expect Casey to be my beacon of light and my hope when it comes to all these situations. And now you're selling me on this 7.5 or 8 deal.
Well,
I don't know nearly as much
reason
as
why-
you do. And when you come out here swinging with an 8, we got issues.
Hold on. The reason why it's not a 10
I am with
is
you
because
there,
there is
Paul.
hope.
I'm with you. I'm in shock.
The reason why it's not a 10 is because there is hope.
Dude, if you're sitting on it.
Most people are already at the 10 level. Most people are already
They're
hitting the
not.
panic button.
We got people here in the chat, and I was going to acknowledge them, and I respect their opinion. I mean, we've got one guy who, where is he? He made the comment. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time finding it because I'd like to name you by name because it's a valid point. He says, everybody just chill. It's a very start of free agency, so just chill. That is a fair point. I don't think anybody's going off the reservation here as far as banging the Bengals. But this is what's happening so far. That's Adam. So, Adam, thank you very much. I finally found it. Zachary says Jamal Williams is coming to Cincinnati of the Detroit Lions. So that helps you in the running back room. William asked a question. Somebody said, is Thom saying that there's no chance for the team to sign Eli Apple? No, I'm not saying that at all. In fact, if I were a betting man, I'd bet Eli Apple is back with the Bengals this coming year. I think he's more valuable to them than he is for other teams. Boom shakalaka, joined by Paul Fritchner, says, I'm not even close to thinking about the NFL. My mind is on the NCAA basketball tournament.
I'm just shocked here that we get all of this, that we got that reaction from you, Casey. I thought you would have been.
Oh, no, I'm not hitting the
panic.
panic button, though. If I was hitting the panic button, I'd be at a 10. 7.5 is me not panicking. I'm nervous, but maybe I'm just over-exaggerating the number. I guess I'm at a 5 then. I don't know.
No. Stick with it. Stick with your take, Casey.
7.5.
Stick with your take.
Like, if they don't do anything today, that goes up to like an 8. If they don't do anything the next day, it's going to go up to 8.5.
Oh,
because,
Lord. Oh, God. We're going to have to spend 6 months talking you off the ledge.
Well, there's the draft and whatnot. But
that's right. We've got about a 2-month window here. For
the reason why for me it's so big is because, one, I feel hopeless about the left tackle spot, and I didn't even really mention this. I'm not really too concerned about the defense. I think Lou can figure it out. But there's zero tight end help. And we have $28 million left in free agency, and they have not signed a guy yet. And the tight end market is really high right now.
Okay, but they did say, everybody who covers this team, everybody across the board, said pretty much, and we haven't officially hit the free agency thing yet, okay, until tomorrow officially. But everybody said this wasn't going to be like the last 2 years, where 2 years ago they go out and they overhaul the defense. They bring in Awuzie, they bring in Hilton, they bring in Von Bell, they bring in Trey Hendrickson, they bring in DJ Reader, they bring in all these guys, BJ Hill in a trade. They bring in all these guys and spend a pile of cash. Last year, before midnight even came, they had deals with Kappa and Karras, shortly thereafter with Lyle Collins. So they were all in on the big money, big ticket guys each of the last 2 years. Everybody said that was not going to happen this year because you knew the contracts that have to be addressed starting with Joe Burrow. Now, no movement on that, but for all I know, they're meeting right now. I have no clue. But, look, as somebody aptly pointed out in the chat as well, we've talked about on the show many, many times, when you know these other guys are coming up for big money, you don't have to you're going to have all 3 receivers for this year. Your quarterback's back. Chase is back. You can negotiate a long-term deal for Higgins if you choose. You don't have to. He can still play the final year of his rookie deal, right? You don't have to tag him, nothing. Tyler Boyd is in the final year of his contract. So, if you want to keep some of these guys around, we've said it all along, and this isn't brain surgery, this part of it. Somebody's got to go. And right out of the gate, goodbye to Jesse Bates. Goodbye to Von Bell. Jermaine Pratt is back.
I'm excited about that.
Solid player.
I didn't really talk about the excitement about Pratt because I had pretty much said he's, in my mind, he was gone already. He was far
Really?
gone. Yeah. And not only did we get to keep him, we got him at a contract that I thought was very team friendly. 3 years for $21 million. The first year's $10 million, so that it's money up front, and then the next 2 seasons he's getting paid. I think it's like $7 million, something like that, $6 million. So yeah, I'm very happy about that. Was not expecting him to come back, and in the Bengals' mind, it makes sense because they, as of recently, have been really focused in on future problems and worrying about what's going to happen when Bates leaves to go get Dax Hill. If you look at next year, Logan Wilson,
I wouldn't sign him.
and Akeem Davis-Gaither, like they're going to lose a lot of depth at linebacker. So you got to have a guy, at least on contract, on paper, that can.
Yeah. If I were Logan Wilson, and there was a lot of talk about him signing and getting a big, long extension, and maybe he will. We'll find out. They don't have to do anything about it now. But if I were him, after they just signed Pratt, I'd be wondering what are my chances of getting a long-term deal, because you're not tying up tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars on 2 linebackers.
No.
You're not doing it.
No.
All right. Okay, let's shift gears real quick to the NCAA tournament. Paul, you're going to Dayton.
I am. I'm going to Dayton, and I'll be in Greensboro. So it's good. It's a busy week. Not sure really what's going on with Greensboro yet. I think I will be here tomorrow, and then I'll be on the show tomorrow, and then I will be available Thursday and Friday, depending. Actually, no, Thursday we're doing the show remotely.
Yeah, what was the deal on that? I was in the car, and I was all tied up with stuff with the kids. What's going on?
So I think the plan right now is to do the Thursday show live. We will do this show live, or Casey will be here, Reed will be in my chair for Thursday from the Buffalo Wings and Rings over, I think the one where we do the Firebirds show. Is that right, Casey?
I think so.
Yeah, the one over in Liberty.
Really?
Yeah. So that's the plan.
So we're doing it I mean, this isn't set in stone yet. We'll know for sure later or maybe tomorrow. But the plan is this show remotely, same time? Or are we changing the time? Any word on that, Casey?
Changing the time. I think we're starting an hour earlier. Later. Like 11, or maybe it's 10:30, and then we go to.
Yeah, because the tip-off of the first game is at 12:15.
Right.
So I think the idea would be to lead in right into the tip-off of the first game.
So we start around 10:15, end around 12:15.
Yeah, something like that. It is. I'm looking in the chat. Sean Spurlock, Reed Mouse, both confirming that one. The Buffalo Wings and Rings on 747. That's where we'll be on Thursday, and we will do the show live from there, 10:30 to 12:15. So
will people be drinking that early in the morning? Do they serve beer at 10 o'clock in the morning?
When's first call? Doors open. Get on the train, Tom. Oh, wait, no, you can't. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Right, I'm off the train.
Not to get
I'll
back
have
to
a
that.
couple of 0.0s.
Sure.
But just to hang out and meet with so many who are kind enough to join our show every single day. Who's coming out there? Anybody in the chat? We'll find out. We'll find out if anybody's
yeah, so and then the plan is from there that we will stay and watch the first session of the games, which actually the Thursday, if you want to rank like the sessions of, Thursday afternoon, early afternoon.
Yeah, what games are on that time, Paul?
So I will run through it here. Let me pull it up real quick.
So this is for our show remote on Thursday. Day after tomorrow, Thursday.
I think the
Wings and rings.
Yes.
Okay.
The idea is to also stream the show, but that's more up Casey's alley. I don't know 100% if we're going to be able to stream the show or not, too. Casey, you might have.
Yes, we are streaming it.
Okay, we are streaming it. All right. So looking at the schedule here, the Thursday games are very good. The Thursday night games, like the last tips on Thursday, aren't very good. But here's how the tournament gets started: Maryland and West Virginia. That's an 8-9 game.
That's a big league game.
Listen to this Thursday early afternoon. Maryland and West Virginia. That's the very first game on CBS. That's Jim Nance, Bill Raftery, Grant Hill, Tracy Wolfson, the A crew getting the tournament started at 12:15. 12:40 is Furman in Virginia. Furman is a popular upset pick. That's a 13-4 game. That's at 12:40. Then an hour later at 1:40, it's Utah State and Missouri. Utah State is an incredibly fun team to watch. They go out there, they shoot threes.
You sold me on the first two.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm telling you, Utah State, Missouri, that's going to be a great game. Then you kind of get a little bit Howard and Kansas tip off right in there around 2 o'clock. Then it's another 1-seed game before you get into that late afternoon.
Right.
3 o'clock would be College of Charleston, Pat Kelsey. Charleston playing San Diego State.
Big time game.
That's a huge game.
That's a good game.
4:10, Princeton and Arizona before 4:30, the last afternoon game, Illinois and Arkansas. My guess would be
that's a good game.
Yeah, Illinois and Arkansas. My guess would be I don't want to speak for these guys since they'll be the ones there. My guess would be that the Chatterbox crew probably sticks around for the end of that Utah State Missouri game, which would be right around 4 o'clock-ish.
I'm going to stay through the first game.
Okay.
The West Virginia game.
Maryland and
we're
West
going off
Virginia.
the air when that comes on, and I've said I'm solo this week with our son, so I'm responsible every night for everything that everybody else is responsible for every night if you got kids at home.
Sure, absolutely. So the Thursday early afternoon is a really good one, and then the Thursday night, late night is UCLA, UNC Asheville is the last one to tip off. I mean, there's Penn State and Texas A&M is on Thursday, but there's nothing really crazy. NKU in Houston they play at 9:20. But Friday then also, Friday is kind of the same way, getting started early. USC, Michigan State. Xavier actually plays at 12:40 on Friday afternoon. So, Thursday to get things started should be a pretty good time. And you never know. Maybe there's a game in there that we didn't even talk about that ends up being pretty good. We'll see.
We have some great responses about who's coming. AJ, Boom Shakalaka swinging by. Sir Boy Wonder. Everett says he's coming by. And Richard from Indian Hill.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and he was asked, is he driving his Aston Martin up there to Westchester or the Lamborghini? He's not responded yet. Sir Boy will be drinking White Claws. It's not a real man. Here's the one I love, William Woolard. Hey, guys, I listen every day driving my semi-truck. I'm broke down right now and wanted to say I love the show. If there's ever a Chatterbox Reds game we're going to this year, I'll be joining you. William, we hope you're all right. We hope you're not, stuck somewhere and it's freezing cold, and we hope everything's okay. Richard from Indian Hill says he might fly up on his helicopter. It's a little bit of a ride for him.
Yeah, it should be a fun time. And, so I will be here. I'm here today, obviously. I'll be here tomorrow. I think I'm going to end up – initially I thought I was going to fly, but then I realized commercial, it's actually quicker to drive because there's no direct flights to Greensboro.
Yeah. That's only about a 7-8 hour drive?
Yeah, it's about 7 hours.
Yeah.
The only
That's
thing,
an easy ride.
Well, the only thing I'm worried about, which I won't know of, so I will be there. I'll be there through the Big East because Providence is also there. Actually, with the Rebound Rundown, too. It's kind of a win-win because Kentucky is also in Greensboro. So I will be covering Xavier and Providence, but then also Kentucky with the show. It's kind of all some synergy there. So I'll be at the Xavier game at 12:40 on Friday. I'll also be at the Providence game, Providence and Kentucky at 7:15, I think.
So
Friday
as part
night.
of your job description, if you're going on this trip, this is the Big East Conference picking up the tab?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, if that's true, How do they feel about you walking around in Xavier garb all the time?
Well, it
cheerleading for Xavier.
Well, it's everybody.
I mean, I know they're in the league, but I mean, how do people like, Ed Cooley or who else feel about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't wear any Xavier gear I'm not going to wear anything that says Xavier on it.
Are you going to wear a coat and tie again?
To this, yeah, I probably will.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I probably will.
Be a big league move.
Yeah, I probably will for this. It's it's fun. It's great being down there, and it should be some good environments. Big Blue Nation obviously travels pretty well, so. The only thing that kind of makes me nervous about driving is if they get that late session on Sunday night, drive through the night, I might just have to drive straight to Hamilton. We'll see.
What do you mean late session? Oh yeah, because they
like
play
if both teams win and
then
they play Sunday and they play it,
Well, I mean, theoretically, what
6 o'clock.
would be the competition of games in those time frames? I mean, if you look at some of the matchups, right? That of the games that are played Friday, right? Okay, and you go ahead and you put forth the brackets, right?
Yeah.
What other games would make sense to be in prime time? I mean, they love putting Kentucky in prime time.
Yeah, my guess would
right?
Yeah, my guess would be that they play the Kentucky game. Kentucky, Kansas State would probably be.
Oh, for sure, that's a prime time.
That would be the prime time game.
Yeah.
Which then would mean that Xavier and Iowa State potentially, and that's the other thing. If Xavier ends up playing, say, Pittsburgh, that has a whole lot less cachet than a Big 12 opponent with Iowa State. Well, I say that. I don't know. Pitt's had a good year this year, and Pitt fans are.
Yeah, I mean,
when
they're
Pitt's good,
kind of like their own sort of little.
Yeah, maybe
I was
not.
around
Yeah.
some of that down when I was down Christmas break down in Florida and went into a bar and Penn State was playing in the Rose Bowl, but Pitt was finishing up their game. So I got to talking to some guys who were Pitt fans. This was all leading up to Ohio State playing that night. We're trying to get a seat and all this kind of thing. And, I mean, talking to these guys about what it means to be a Pitt fan compared to, they're like, we despise Penn State. Kind of like UC fans with Ohio State, right? So Pitt has their own little, more than little. They have a good following.
Yeah. My guess would be, like Mouse Cop points out, my guess would be that if the game was to play on the difference here is Xavier plays in the early session. They play the very first game on Sunday afternoon, on Friday afternoon. They play at 12:40. Kentucky plays at 7:15. Those are two different sessions in Greensboro. You would get, if you buy a ticket, you would get a ticket to Xavier, then you would get a ticket to the Iowa State game.
Then you're out.
They dump the building, then they play Kentucky and Kansas State. So there's 4 games that day. On Sunday, you would play the Xavier-Iowa State game potentially, and then you would play the Kentucky-Kansas State game. But those games would be back-to-back. So, if they wanted to play Kentucky at 6:40, I don't really know what's prime time on a Sunday, though. Because sometimes they like to play, like the mid-afternoon on Sunday is when they like to play some of those bigger games.
Yeah, the 4 and the 7 more so than the 9 stuff. You know
That's
what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of like football. I mean, football puts their best games on at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's gonna be cold, and people are gonna be inside. So
Xavier and Kentucky on Sunday, especially for people that are listening that might be Xavier fans that are interested to go to that game. If you feel confident that Xavier is going to beat Kennesaw State on Friday, I would highly suggest looking at your tickets now, because if Kentucky beats Providence, they'd be in the same session as Big Blue Nation, which would sell out that arena. So tickets for Sunday for Xavier would be a little more expensive than they would be on Friday afternoon.
But you passed over very quickly, and it's my fault, but you are deciding. I asked you the other day, and you came in today before the show, and you said you and your dad are going up tonight.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Casey, you going?
I'm not going.
I've only been to the first 4 once, and it was great. I went back in 2018. I went. Somebody had an extra ticket. I went up there, and it was a great time. Saw UCLA play.
But you said you got a good price.
Yeah. We don't have a ticket sponsor, so I guess I can say I went to TickPick. It's a great site, no fees, and it saved me about $30-some from StubHub, and paid $33 a ticket, and we're sitting not all that far off the court, kind of in the corner. It's not a bad deal. So we'll see. We'll get up there, see the 16 seed game, and then the late game. I was more interested to go tonight just because, like I said, potential that one of these teams plays X on Sunday, potentially. I don't see that happening, but you never know. Kirby had that stat yesterday. One team from the first 4 has made it to the round of 32 every year or something like that. So, you're potentially seeing a Pitt team that could beat Iowa State on Sunday. I don't think Mississippi State would beat Iowa State, but I think Pitt could.
Somebody, by the way, so I was listening to a radio show. I don't know if it's Lance McAllister, Mo. I don't know who it was. But there's this guy that calls regularly, and I was telling you guys beforehand. We're talking about tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy, apparently, whoever he is, he goes to all kinds of games all over the country. He's got time, must have a little money, and he loves just going to, especially, big sporting events.
Sounds like Marlins, man.
What's that?
Sounds like Marlins, man.
Right. But he's not. I don't think he's that level. But he said that, if you really want to, say you're a Xavier fan, right? And you want to go down to Greensboro, and you can't get tickets through Xavier. Maybe you're having some issues from a price standpoint with something else. This guy maintains that if you go, and he does it all the time, he said if you go on to, in this case, so I'm looking at the teams they're playing there. So Kennesaw State, okay, it's small school in Georgia. I don't know how many fans they get up there. Iowa State, Mississippi State / Pitt. Okay, they'll get a decent amount. Kentucky, huge amount, no doubt. Providence, they got a good fan base, but I don't know how many people are traveling down there. But in the other one, you have Kansas State and Montana State. So here's what I'm getting at. This guy maintains that if you were to go to the Montana State website, every school is allotted so many tickets. There's a very good chance, according to him, that not many people from Montana State, and that is in, I've been there, Bozeman, Montana. They're not going to sell out their tickets, more than likely. Who knows? A lot of money in Bozeman, a lot of money recently. Okay, but you can pick up a ticket by just calling their athletic department and saying, "Hey, you guys sold out." No, I'm not. Can I buy 2 tickets? They'll send them to you overnight, and you can get a good price on them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a very good point. It says the same thing for any West Coast team coming east, right? And that the chances are, if it's not a UCLA or Gonzaga probably travels relatively well, though a very small school, but a big following. But Arizona would travel very well. But outside of that, some of the other teams out there, a St. Mary's, somebody like that, who knows? But I would try, if you're thinking about that, checking it out according to this guy with Montana State. Okay. We got the Tracer on in about 5 minutes. Anything else on your guys' mind before we get to the Tracer?
I don't think so. I'm just looking forward to – we're doing brackets tomorrow, right?
That's right. Thank you.
So, I'll be here tomorrow, Casey, if you want. I mean, I'm feel free. I can call in Friday. I could call in Friday, right away, because Xavier's going to play at 12:40. So, if you wanted – I'm not trying to say I have to, but if you wanted me to, I could do it right away, because by 11:30 I'll have to be over there. So
11:30 tomorrow you got to leave?
No. Sorry. I will be here all day tomorrow.
So we'll do our brackets tomorrow.
Yes, I'll be here all day tomorrow.
Do you know what, real quick, and we're doing this on the fly, because I got to thinking about this after you were just talking about not being here on Thursday. Tomorrow, we're joined by Jay Morrison from The Athletic, talk about what's going on with the Bengals. My dad is going to be joining us, as he regularly does on Wednesday. We're not doing any big, long interview tomorrow because of everything going on with the tournament, NFL free agency, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're not going to be here Thursday, we got to do the brackets tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. Okay. And you want us to pull them up and
pull them up, take pictures of them, we'll put them up, right?
Yep.
Love it.
My dad's going to do the same. I forgot to ask Tracy Jones about this today.
So, Tom, Trace said that he would give Casey a 1% raise for every point that NKU wins by on Thursday night. Every point that NKU beats Houston by.
That is quite an offer.
That's a 1% raise.
That's one where the boss can't lose.
But if they lose, I got to bring donuts in for everyone. So $20 or, 20% raise. I mean, I got to take the 20% raise, right?
You know who's making the best donuts in town right now? Not because it's our sponsor, but UDF. They've been really pubbing these things, and they've got them now every morning. They're doing all kinds of different ones. It's a big push for them right now.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
I'll bring in some UDF donuts.
So make sure you stop at UDF.
Is it did they revamp a formula or something?
They've revamped a lot of things that they're going to really
Recipe?
be pushing, I'm told, after meeting with Denise down there. Trace and I were down there talking about what they're really pushing moving forward. There's going to be a lot more choices from the hot food. They're going to be putting in these big, huge oven things, and every one of them, apparently, it's going to be a big deal.
One other thing that we have here, Trace, we just got a text from Trace, not Tracy, Trace Fowler. Trace Fowler said that he's going to be here at the end of the show. He has some big announcement from Betfred that he wants to make live on the show. So
really?
We're going to do Reed and I are going to do Not Too Picky when this show ends. But Trace is going to come in. He said he's going to be here around 11:45. But, he can come in whenever Tracy's done. And then
he can come in whenever he wants. He's a boss.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He can just boot Tracy's ass right off the air.
That's what I'm saying. We're good. He has something to say.
I can't wait. I have no idea what this is. Somebody says on here, and I'll be interested to ask Tracy Jones this, because I don't know if he ever played minor league baseball. This is an interesting point. If he ever played baseball, minor league baseball in Georgia. But somebody makes a point here in the chat that there are a lot of beautiful women at Kennesaw State. I have no idea if that's true or not. But the South is the South.
Atlanta.
Is that where they are, hot Atlanta?
Well, it's Kennesaw, Georgia, but yes, it's Atlanta.
Okay. William, by the way, who's in his semi, it's broken down. He says he's getting everything fixed. So thank you so much for thinking of him and asking about him, and we hope he's well. Reed Mouse keeps pounding away this baseball talk. What am I going to talk about with baseball? The only thing that I have to say about this WBC thing is my good friend, Ken Rosenthal, used to work with Ken a lot. He is one of the lead baseball writers now at The Athletic. You see him on Fox during the World Series and the playoffs and all that kind of thing. He asked the question, which is a legitimate question. If the United States is not playing to win, why are they even playing? And he's talking about specifically the pitchers. Outside of Lance Lynn, 90% of the pitching staff, a lot of guys you've never heard of. They're not going to be big-time rotation guys. There's no Verlander. There's no Max Scherzer. There's none of these guys on the U.S. team, although the position players are a bunch of stars. But he went into how you have Mark DeRosa. Now, he's never managed anything. He was an excellent player. He's very good on television. But he's the manager of this Team USA thing. And his predecessors, as Ken Rosenthal points out in the article, guys like Davey Johnson, Jim Leland, who managed Team USA, they would have never signed on for this thing under the conditions that DeRosa is under from major league teams about how much, how long, and how frequently he can use these pitchers in the WBC. Most of them can't pitch back-to-back days. And Ken used the example of the game 2 nights ago when they got drilled by Mexico. It's a 4-1 game. He can't bring in this guy because it'd be 2 days in a row. He can't bring in that guy because he threw too many pitches. It's a 4-1 game. You're right in the game. There's 2 on, there's 2 out. He has to leave the guy in the game. He gives up a 3-run home run. Game over, 7-1. They get beat. So if you're not in it to win it, why are you in it at all?
Is there any way that they can make it to where pitchers care or the MLB teams care to put in some of their players? Because I think of the world, it is a direct correlation. They pretty much modeled it after the World Cup.
That's right.
And it's the same mission to try to spread the game of baseball. And we had a huge segment yesterday on Box Lunch about it. And, Reed is trying to figure out why the pitchers aren't wanting to play this game, and mainly it's because of money. But, there's a way to fix that, and that's to make money. And how do you make money? How do you make this successful? That's the big question.
Now, they have sellout crowds. I mean, every venue they have, this has been a 40 or 58,000 at Chase Field yesterday. And they're selling out like crazy in Miami. So there are some people that are interested. But please go ahead.
Well, I mean, we were just debating on what it is that we can do to improve it or to get the players to care more. And, I mean, there's only a few factors that get them to care, which is money.
Yep.
And for a lot of the World Cup, it's the glory of it.
Of course.
And there's not this perception of glory for winning the WBCA or whatever this thing is called.
WBC, the World Baseball Classic.
WBC, whatever, the WBC Classic or whatever.
You call it whatever you want to call it.
Well, whatever it is, because that's I'm proving a point here. I know the World Cup. I don't know anything about this WBC.
Right.
So it's just like, how do we get it to a point where people start caring, at least in America? Because I think once that happens, you're going to see a lot more of the pitchers caring, a lot more exciting baseball games in the WBC.
All right, well, who's better to ask about this dilemma than our baseball expert? Apparently he hasn't changed out of that Montreal Expos.
That's right, Tom.
Since the last time we saw him a week ago.
Yeah, I haven't changed my shirt. I love the Expos, and I think they should be an expansion team. And I'm going to keep pushing on this show. Everybody's talking about it in the city. I've been wearing it around the city. People are saying, Trace, the Expos Montreal needs to get one of the expansion teams. That's the first thing out of their mouth when they see this. The second thing they say is, when they traded you to Montreal, that was the worst trade the Reds have ever made in the history of the organization. I think people listening and watching this show would agree 100%. That was a horrible trade.
It's been mentioned in the same sentence frequently with a Frank Robinson trade to Baltimore. There's very little debate about that.
Yeah. And can I just ask you guys, because I don't ask for much, but can I please get some intro music? I'm a Major League Baseball player, damn it. Can we get some Montrose or Cinderella? Some group that...
Who?
Cinderella, Montrose. You remember
Cinderella?
Cinderella. Come on, Tom. When you and Hammer were running the streets of Mount Adams, they were playing Cinderella back then.
No, we weren't listening to that nonsense. We were listening to
Who were you listening to?
real
Go-Go's?
music. Prince and the Bee Gees.
Oh, Prince. Yeah. The Bee Gees were great, weren't they? Love it.
They were awesome.
That's the first time I was 17 years old. That was the first time I got a reach around. Go ahead, Tom. You had something to say?
Yes, I wanted to ask you about this. I don't know if you heard me talking about this column that was written by Ken Rosenthal, who is a very astute baseball guy. Been around a long time, loves the game, cares about the game. And based on what took place the other night in the United States' second WBC game, you've got all these big stars, whether it's Mike Trout or Mookie Betts or Kyle Schwarber, who's from Middletown, Ohio, by the way. All these guys, Tim Anderson, all that kind of thing, they're all playing for Team USA. They're all in, representing the United States. But the pitching staff, not so much. And, Mark DeRosa, the manager, has been given all of these rules and regulations and pitch counts and how frequently you can use guys and how frequently you can't use guys from the major league teams where all these guys are coming from, which is not a surprise. But that, his hands were tied the other night. They end up losing the game to Mexico. They get drilled. And Ken Rosenthal asks a legitimate question. If you're in it, Are you not in it to win? And if you're not in it to win, then why are you in it at all?
Well, I don't know if the U.S. team's in it to win it. The position ball players are very good, but the pitcher's a little shaky. But I'll tell you who's in it to win it are the Latin teams.
Yes.
You know, whether you're talking about Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Cuba. I mean, you've got all the top-notch hitters, position players, pitchers. And I will say this. I think the Latin players, this is what they're in for. This is what they enjoy. I think they enjoy this more than playing in the World Series here in the United States. I know people probably disagree. I'm just saying from my observation, man, these guys are out for blood. They're going to show you that the Latin players are better than the players from the United States. And even when I played, they wanted to show you how good they were. And there's so many great Latin players.
Did you ever go down and play winter ball?
I didn't. But you know, it's tough to. I mean, they wanted me to go play in Venezuela one year, and I had just led the league in hitting in the AA and in Vermont, and led the league in stolen bases. And my point was, and it was Chief Bender. You remember Chief Bender?
Oh, of course,
of course.
Oh,
great guy. I'm like, Chief, what am I going to prove down in winter ball? What's the upside? I mean, you accomplish so much during the season. I need to rest and relax and get ready for my season in the big leagues. He says, well, you're not going to play in the big leagues. He says, you're going to play AAA. I says, you watch me. I'll be in the big leagues. And as they say, the rest is history, Thom. That's a cocky, arrogant baseball player.
I only ask the question because for anybody who has ever paid really much attention to winter ball, you'll have the big stars, okay, from whether they're the Dominican or Venezuelan or whatever it might be, who will not play during the regular season of, winter ball, whatever it might be. Like in Puerto Rico, they'll have 5 teams that play, or 6 teams in the Puerto Rican Winter League. Dominican has more than that. Mexico has more than that. On and on and on and on. But then when you get to the last, and you bring up a great point here about how it matters to these players, right?
Yeah.
When you get into the last 8 or 10 games of the regular season before the playoffs are going to start, ultimately leading to the Caribbean World Series, now all of a sudden all the big boys come out, right? Because it is important for them, for the Dominican Republic to win the Caribbean World Series. That is a much better example, in my opinion, although without the scope. I think the Caribbean World Series is closer to a World Cup environment where you have fandom, you have just fans that are insane. The environment is unbelievable for a baseball game, and how important it is to those players who are from those countries to play for their countries.
I agree with you, but how lame is it to play a whole season and then all of a sudden you get to crunch time and now you add the stars? So let's forget about the players that got us there.
Hey.
Let's start adding on to it. It's not right. I'll tell you who used to do that.
I can't believe you're a guy that's complaining about that. You're almost going to like California participation trophy kind of stuff here with that comment.
Let me tell you on a smaller level who used to do it.
The big boys get in the game. The big boys.
Okay, listen to this. Now let me ask
you. This is a meritocracy here.
Do you think this is right? And do you remember the Midland program, the Great Midland?
Papa Joe Hayden lives out in Anderson Township. Great. God rest his soul, absolutely. Right. I'm very familiar. I was a player for Midland back when I could play baseball, believe it or not.
Hold on. I don't think so. I think that's BS, and we'll have to address it.
I'm not talking about their Connie Mack or Babe Ruth. Out in Anderson Township, Midland has 2 teams at every single level in Knothole that works their way all the way through. Ask my good friend, former Major League hero of the Yankees, Jim Lehretz. He was my teammate for 4 years. Ask him, big boy. Go look it up.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Lehretz also played for the Redskins. And so people that don't know the Redskins in Midland, that's their top Connie Mack team, right? And they get players from all over the country. I mean, all over the country. When Hunter played, there were only 2 local kids, Hunter and another kid, Adam Engel, who's in the big leagues playing with the Padres. So they were the only 2 kids. But what Midland would do, right or wrong, I didn't really like it, but that's what they did. If they had a tournament, they would fly pitchers out from California. They did it with a guy by the name of Tago. Tago was like the 17th pick from the Colorado Rockies. Look him up. He's a pretty good pitcher. But they flew him out just to pitch in a game, in a big game. Do you think that's all right, Thom?
Absolutely.
Just to win? Oh, well.
You're in it.
You are cold-blooded.
You're in it to win it. Right? I mean, you're in it to win it.
Wait a minute. I'm in it to win it with my guys. I'm not going to have you take me all the way and then all of a sudden, hey, we've got to win this game. Let me get some guy from SoCal. Hey, look. Is there anything?
Well, I don't want. I'm not going to have a lot of SoCal guys on my team. I'm just not. I'm not. I'd take Tracy Jones in your makeup, but I want guys like the Marquette player, the basketball player, Kolek.
Tyler Kolek.
That's my kind of guy. Are you filling out a bracket, by the way, for the basketball tournament? Do you pay attention to it?
You know, I had one really bad experience when I was with the Giants. 64 teams, right? And you know how they always have the pool.
Yes.
So in the big leagues in spring training, when I was with the Giants, $200. $200 for every pick that you had of the 64 teams. They'd have 1 through 64, and you would reach in and pick out a number. So we're at, what, $1,280, almost $13,000. Did I do the math right? I think I did. So we have it. Reach in, I grab number 1. So I get the first pick. After, I got number 1. I picked the number 1 team, which was Georgetown. I don't know if you remember, back in 90, maybe it was 89. So everybody picks. There's still some really good numbers. Another $100. Reach into that cap, pull out. The number 2, I get anyone I want, right? Because I pick Arizona. Arizona's the second ranked team that year. This should have been here with the Giants because both those teams didn't even make it to the Elite 8. So I had the first and second. I think I'm going to spend, get almost $13,000. I got zilch and was out like in the 3rd round. Look it up. That's a true story. First Georgetown, then Arizona, and I lost on both. So ever since then, I don't bet.
All right, now listen, we have an outing on Thursday where we're taking this show remote. Now, I know that for a guy like you, you're very busy. You're managing all your apartment buildings. You're managing billions of dollars, somewhere in the neighborhood of what SVB was managing out there in the highfalutin
we don't
Silicon
stick our money.
Valley.
Wait a minute, hold on. We don't stick our money in a woke bank, right? They'll bail out that California bank, but I'll be damned if there's a bank in Texas or Florida that gets in trouble that you'll have the regulators come in and bail them out. Go ahead, Thom. Sorry for interrupting.
No. While we're on this topic real quick, I do want to ask you because, we try to branch off from time to time from just talking about sports, and we'll get back to this in a minute. But what are your thoughts? There are a lot of people that are scared. You're a money guy. I'm being very serious when I ask this question, right? I'm not going down some political road. You're a money guy. That's how you make your living and have in your post-baseball career. There are a lot of people that worry there's going to be another big run on banks again now. Are you in that camp after this SVB thing?
Listen, everything, if you haven't noticed, and just listen, everything's a joke with me, right? Except when it comes down to people's money, then I become real serious. Thom, I think we're in for some tough times. If we think that's the only bank, and the bank in New York, the other crypto bank, those are the only banks that are in trouble, you are fooling yourself. Just my opinion. Watch, Charles Schwab, there's a brokerage, was down 25% yesterday. Fifth Third was down 15%. Now, I'm not saying these banks are in trouble or brokerage, But I'm just saying everybody got hit. So what happened in Northern California with SVB or whatever they're called, I don't think they're alone. I think there's others that are going to fall. And I really worry about regional banks.
Okay.
But we'll see. Inflation is out of control. Do you not agree with that?
Well, there's no doubt
everything.
about that. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, how are people surviving?
I don't know.
People.
I don't. I mean, I walk in the grocery store now, and I think to myself, and we're lucky to make a good living and have a decent amount of cash and have for a long time. But I used to walk in there and basically buy the same stuff that I buy now when I go, and I just went on Sunday afternoon, and it used to cost me $60, $70, $75. Now I'm looking at 120, 125, 135 for basically everything is through the roof. And for the people who are living paycheck to paycheck, I don't know how they're doing it. I don't. I have no idea how they're doing it.
I know how they're doing it. I know how they're doing it. They're doing it on their credit card.
Well, that's right.
I mean,
that's
we're
right.
almost at $1 trillion in credit card debt. You know, this thing is going to blow up. This economy is going to blow up. People just cannot handle this, whether it's their car payment, whether it's their adjustable rate mortgage. I mean, you know, you go back a year ago, adjustable rate mortgage is 3.5%. I mean, we're over 7% now. And it's just going to snowball. And it's sad because we had the financial crisis in 2008, and I really feel there's one that's going to happen, I think, this year. So please, people, have some money on the sidelines. Cash is king right now.
Some of those banks have gone back up, and brokerage firms today, they've gone back up. Wells Fargo up $4, Morgan Stanley up, Bank of America up 1%, whatever. So, some of those are off. But as you mentioned, I mean, Schwab yesterday drops 12% in one day. All right. So,
but
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's because the Fed is not going to raise rates on the 20th. That's why. They were talking about the Fed raising the rates 50 basis points. Well, they're going to pull that back. So maybe 25, maybe nothing. So that's good for the market. They're always just kicking the can, right? Kicking the can. You're $32 trillion in debt. But hey, who's worried about that? We'll let Casey, and Polly pick up that tab. We'll be long gone, Tom.
Sure.
All right, back to our outing here very quickly. And we have to let you go a couple of minutes earlier today because Trace has a big announcement, and we don't know what that announcement is. So he's coming in any minute now. We're having an outing, Tracy, on Thursday. I mean, I'm sure you're really busy. You've got power meetings, whether it be in the real estate industry, whether it be in the financial industry, whatever it might be. Your expertise is sought after on multiple topics, on multiple days, multiple hours. There aren't enough hours in the day.
No doubt.
But we're going to Buffalo Wings and Rings.
What is that place?
Richard
what is that?
From Indian Hill says he's coming. Richard from Indian Hill says he's coming.
He doesn't know what that place does. It serves chicken wings, doesn't it?
He said he was coming in the chat. He's already acknowledged. He was asked whether he was driving his Aston Martin, his Lamborghini. He said he might take his helicopter up to Buffalo Wings and Rings. So is there any chance we have an appearance? Because everybody wants to know in our chat, is there any chance of the Tracer showing up for this event this coming Thursday, yay or nay?
You know what? I have other obligations, but I tell you what I will do for you people is I'm going to send my body double. I actually have a body double, Tom, that I send to engagements that I can't make that I think are worthy, that I think people would like to see me. So I will send my body double. He looks just like me. We'll be wearing this jersey. I haven't taken this off in a week. And please, here's the thing, and this is what my body double likes if you meet. Don't ask for an autograph. Let's not make eye contact. Let's just give the rock, okay? We don't need to shake hands. Do like the Japanese do and just bow to my body double.
Casey, are you a little disappointed? Before we let Tracy go, Paul, Casey, you a little disappointed? Tracer is sending his body double on this endeavor?
Oh, my God. Well, I have a feeling there is one thing that Tracy is not. You can send your body double to this if you want, but there's something you can't send your body double to, Tracy, and that's what Casey has right here.
But my eyes are bad. Is that brass ass? What is it?
Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is, Tracy? What might this be an envelope
Oh,
for?
my Lord. I just got one today, Tracer.
Invitation.
That's right. It's an invitation.
Oh, God, thank you,
You're not going to send your
Casey.
body double to this, are you?
Well, that could be. You'll never know. It's kind of like Joe Biden has a body double, and you guys don't know if it's the real Joe Biden or the body double, right? So does Kamala. Kamala has a body double. Casey, I will be there. Danae, my wife, will probably be with her boyfriend. I mean, she'll be in California, but I will make it, and I'll have you a nice present. What would you like? Oh, I'm going to give you a bobblehead. Remember August 16th?
Perfect.
At the Florence U-Alls, I'm going to get you a bobblehead. So there's U-Alls.
It is not
Thom?
Florence U-Alls. You live in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. When you drive
What is
by
it, Thom?
that huge water tower, it doesn't say Florence Y''OUALLS. It says Y''ALLS. Y'all.
How do you pronounce
Y'all.
U-Alls? Y'alls.
Y'all.
And I am going to bring my pot roast for our potluck wedding dinner, our rehearsal dinner. Not rehearsal. What is
On
it?
a departing note, Tracer, Everett from the chat says, Tracy only eats cage-free chicken wings from California.
From Pepperidge Farm. Yes, that's exactly. With no HMO or whatever that is. You gotta
HMO,
eat
that's
organic.
a healthcare plan.
I think it was a PPO or an HMO. I wasn't sure.
Right.
You know.
All right.
Hey, by the way, boys, I haven't had any sugar or alcohol in a week. Can you believe that? That's pretty good, right?
That's
Solid.
pretty
Remember
good.
we talked about it? And let me say this. I thought on Thursday it was our best show. It was always ranked, it was actually graded as a perfect show. It was that good. And I can tell you about that on Thursday, how they're graded. It's the same company that does the FQI. But what they liked about the show on Thursday is everybody opening up and talking about their vice or their addiction. Do you remember that? That was a hell of a show. I talked about my addiction to sugar. Thom, you talked about your addiction and issues with alcohol. Casey had two. He had that he lied, and that he's a degenerate gambler, which the people who watched it really liked that. And then, of course, Reed had a problem with Pornhub, being on that website all the time. And, Paulie, I have to ask you, what is your vice or your addiction? Is it that you're a peeping Tom? Are you a druggie? What is it?
No, I'm addicted to. That's a good question. What am I addicted to?
Be honest now. They love it when you're honest.
I don't know. College basketball, probably. Tom would think I have a bad college basketball addiction.
That's being a dork.
I'd probably check that box too.
And by the way, Tracy, it's GMO.
I knew I was
PPO
close.
and HMO, these are healthcare option plans. Okay, it's GM.
Yeah, did I tell you, Tom? I actually have my life and health license too, so I do sell insurance. See?
Well, Casey might
I'm
need
very
to
well-rounded.
look into that now that he's getting married. That would be very important.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, very important.
All right, Tracer, have a good day today. We'll catch up with you on Thursday. Thank you for the time, my friend.
All right, see you, boys. Have a good day.
The Tracer. I mean, you want to talk money? You want to talk real estate? You want to talk issues that all of us have, vices, right? I mean, Tracy's your guy. That was a lame answer, Paul. Everybody else opened up about their issues. I mean, I opened up about giving up booze for Lent. Casey was very forthcoming. His gambling problem. Reed, I'm not going to get into that one. I knew that was going to circle back again somehow, some way today.
You know that
Marriage counseling.
You know, when I think about it, I gave up gambling around the same time that Lent started, and I haven't gambled since.
I haven't gambled in so long, I legitimately haven't even thought about it.
Both of you, though, know that's changing starting Thursday.
I actually know it's not. North Carolina doesn't have betting, so I'm out of the game.
I didn't say
the whole
North
weekend.
Carolina had to have betting. Betfred Sports has betting.
I know, but I can't get anything in. I can't. I'm out.
Casey, you're going back to the well.
I mean, depends on if NKU wins.
You're going back to the well for the tournament. There are a lot of guys out there that don't gamble all year long, but they say to themselves, and I'm in this category, where I jump in a little deal with a couple buddies, and we'll go through. 2 out of 3 have to agree on the pick. So it is what it is. All right, Trace Fowler is here, our president, CEO, and leader of men. Trace, you have a big announcement to make here today. Is that correct?
This is our cherry on top, too.
Okay, this is our UDF cherry on
Some
top.
synergy.
Yeah.
Good morning.
So,
good morning.
Good morning. My voice is shot from yelling at Breed Mouse yesterday about the World Baseball Classic. But this is a perfect segue because I know why they're on the sideline, Tom. They're on the sideline because they weren't, that bankroll kind of got down to zero. They didn't want to replenish it, and I understand that. However, for the Chatterbox crew that's going to be there, they're going to get a $250 free bet.
Ooh.
Really?
Wow.
$250 free bet. So Casey's got a chance to get back in the game. He's got to hit it, though. I mean, it's a free bet.
So what does that mean? Explain that, because I don't know what you mean. When you say that, I don't know
So
what
even
that
you,
means.
Tom. We'll get you. We'll all have to pick one side, which I know what it's going to end up being because, Bob Huggins is the coach of one of those teams. So I'm sure
That's right. I'm loading up on West
I'm pretty
Virginia.
sure that it'll be West Virginia for us. Free bet, for those that don't know, is essentially just it's an opportunity to where you have not real cash in your account, so you can't just take the money out, but you have an opportunity to wager that money on something, which is $250. And if you win, then you win $250, and that's cash in your account that then you could bet again.
Okay.
So the other thing, for those that are going to come to this, which again is on Union Center, we'll have all the details tomorrow on where it's going to be. We'll do the show, and then we'll obviously do a live stream watch along. For those that come at Wings and Rings, for any over that hits while we're there, Chatterbox will buy a round.
Oh.
Say that again.
For any person that comes, for every over that hits, so you got to realize the whole bar, the whole place is going to be rooting for an over. Whatever that over is. I don't know what Paulie pull it up on Betfred. First over of the day for West Virginia.
137.5.
137.5. If we can get those total points to go over 137.5, Chatterbox will buy a round for the whole bar.
How about that? Now you're talking. You're getting free cash from Betfred.
These guys are. So not every person that walks in gets $250
No, I
from
understand
Betfred.
that.
But if they're
Who's
there,
those guys? These two?
those two, Sean, you,
Okay.
Reed.
All right. Okay. And then.
But they get free beer possibly.
Okay, and possibly a free round.
That's for every game on
That's for
Thursday.
one we're there. My guess, like Paul said, that'll probably be the first 3 games of the day.
I'm sticking around for the West Virginia game, and I got to get out.
Right.
But that, again, will be and we'll have all the details officially tomorrow, but we're planning on Buffalo Wings and Rings, and that is in what part of town, Trace, for people that don't know?
It's in Westchester,
Okay.
so it's the one that's right there on 747. Again, we'll put the official address.
And this place
tomorrow.
is sweet. I mean, they got lots of TVs,
Beautiful.
everything. You'll be able to see every game going on. Once they start divvying up regions, they start one game at like 12:05, and then they start splitting like 12:25, 12:30, right?
Yeah, 12:15, 12:40. Yeah, and then a little after 1 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yep.
So we'll have all the details tomorrow, but the show will be live. Are we moving the start time of the show back a little bit? We were talking
a little
about
bit.
this.
So for those that are wanting to watch the show live, they don't actually open until 11.
Okay.
So we're going to start the show probably a little bit before that you can actually get in.
Okay.
But certainly if you come towards the end of the show, we'll be live, and then obviously we're going to keep it streaming to get our reactions and
Good.
and basically watch us sweat out these bets, as they say.
Amen.
And hopefully we get some overs and everybody can have fun. And I'm assuming we haven't officially made the decision on what we're all going to roll with, but I have a hard suspicion that it's not going to be Bob Huggins and the West Virginia Mountaineers. But I'll let these guys decide. But the only rule that I have with the free bet is everyone has to be on the same side.
Okay. All right.
Got to be one singular side of the bet.
And that's Betfred Sportsbook.
That's right.
So we thank them. Trace, we thank you. Fellas, you're back in the game. I mean, it's like Pacino. It's like Pacino in The Godfather. I want out, but they keep pulling me back. They keep pulling me back. You're back in the game.
I'm back. North's up. Win by 20. Let's go.
And get a raise.
Get a raise. Let's go.
If they win the game by 20, will you buy a round?
Yes, I'd buy a round. I will buy.
Right.
I'll buy a round for the bar.
All right. Tomorrow we got Jay Morrison, talk everything going on, all Bengals, what they're up to. Marty Brennaman will join us as well. We're going to unveil our picks. The three of us tomorrow. It's a big deal. Casey, I mean, you have bags under your eyes, staying up late. They tell you don't get inside a computer or on your phone. When you get into bed at night, shouldn't have a TV in your bedroom, all that kind of stuff. But you are just locked and loaded for this tournament.
I am. I'm all in. All in. I mean, I spent all night the first night. I took a little bit of a break yesterday because I had just worked myself to death making that draft. And now I'm going to have to remake it again tonight.
Finishing touches.
On
a masterpiece, right? Like Michelangelo in painting David. This is Casey for his NCAA. Did Michelangelo paint David, by the way? I think he did, didn't he?
Sculpt? David was the sculpture.
It was? I thought there was also a painting. Was it a sculpture of David?
The painting is the one where he's touching.
The Last Supper, right?
Oh, Last Supper? I don't know.
Culture. Off the bench.
Straight in the tank. First attempt at it. I always say that because my wife and daughter are there today. They said they were going to see David. So I assumed that meant a painting. They said Michelangelo. But maybe you're right. Can you look it up real quick?
The David is a sculpture.
It is. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's in Florence, Italy.
Sure.
I'm quite sure of that. See, there you go. We bounced back strong there, knowing that much. All right, gentlemen. Casey, Paul, thank you. Great stuff today. Trace, thank you. Looking forward to Thursday. Thank all of you. Look forward to you joining us in your shows tomorrow after our show, right? Or is that today?
No, Reed and I are doing
it
that
right now.
Yep.
Not too picky. So, now that he's back in the game, he's got a little skin in the game again. A little skin in the game. Paul, we're leaning on your expertise for our pick of the free money for Thursday. Okay?
All right.
We'll see you tomorrow.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to Not Too Picky. It is Tuesday, March 14th, and this is our March Madness preview. We have everything on the docket here today. Trace Fowler's over there, Casey McAllister, Paul Fritchner is right here. Reed Mouse is to my left. This show is presented by Betfred Sportsbook. As we just talked about, we will see all of you. I will not see you. Maybe I will FaceTime in and say hi to everybody on Thursday afternoon.
Nice.
I am very disappointed I can't be there, but I will be down in Greensboro. I'm going to be here tomorrow, driving down after the show. I am driving through the hills of wherever. Appalachia, down in there into North Carolina. But should be a great weekend. This is the best weekend of the year. And it starts tonight. Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, and your favorite jerseys in the world taking on Southeastern Missouri State.
You stopping by Kramer's on your way up there with your dad?
What is Kramer's?
Kramer's is a little pizza place. They only serve 40s of beer. Anytime I've ever gone to UD Arena, my dad makes me go to Kramer's. So we just get a 40 of beer. You get little cups to hit it up.
No, are you going?
Oh, no, God, no.
Oh, okay. Well, you asked in the chat. You said anybody else going. I didn't know if you meant.
I was fishing.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right. So let's get right into it. We're not going to pick the. You know what? Let's just take the over 156. No, I'm going to do this live on the air. I'm taking the under in that game. Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, Southeastern Missouri State. I'm taking the under in that game. I'm taking Pitt plus 2.5 in the night game. I just don't think Mississippi State can score to keep up with Pitt. It is going to be kind of an ugly game because both teams play fairly opposite styles.
Right.
So you don't really know what you're going to get as much as you might know what you're going to get tomorrow night. I'm going to take Pitt. That's tonight.
I cannot bet Texas Agricultural and Machinery, Corpus Christi, because of their jerseys. So I'll go Southeastern Missouri State plus 3.5.
Okay.
So I'm taking that one as well. And you know what? Mississippi State, Pittsburgh, haven't seen a darn thing of either one of those teams.
Okay.
So you know what? If you're going to make me bet there, I'll go over 133. Sure. Root for points. So I'll take the over there.
Okay. Love it. You know what the other thing is?
Yeah.
This is going to sound like real degeneracy, responsibly. The NIT starts tonight.
Mm-hmm.
There is some value in the NIT. Toledo and Michigan play tonight. The over in that game is 162.5.
Oh, my. Michigan scoring 162?
I am taking the under in that game.
I mean, I know Toledo likes to run up
They
and
get
down.
up and down the court, man, but 162.5.
For Michigan?
For Michigan?
I don't know.
Maybe that means we should
Is
take
it
the
a
over.
trap?
Yeah.
It might be.
Is it a trap?
Are they
Talk
nationally?
yourself off of it,
Are
though.
they nationally inviting us into a trap?
I
Is that
think
what
they
the
are.
NIT stands
I
for?
think they
Quick
absolutely
question:
are.
Is it worse to not bet a game that you really love and then it ends up hitting easily and you're like, why did I do this to myself? I feel like I'd rather just lose the bet. So what I'm telling you guys, take the under, because the worst thing that could happen is you're like, oh, it's a trap, and the game's like 142, and you're looking at it and you're just disgusted with yourself.
Yeah, I just probably won't bet it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't care enough about old Toledo and Michigan. You know, you get past the NIT. I couldn't imagine watching NIT games. Just couldn't imagine my program playing.
Could
in the
not
NIT.
imagine. Could not imagine that. All right, Arizona State and Nevada. That is tomorrow night.
Yep.
That is the 11 seed game tomorrow night. I'm taking Arizona State in this game. Nevada, I felt like shouldn't have been in the field, but they did.
Yeah, they were kind of a surprise.
They were a little bit of a surprise. Actually, nobody on Bracket Matrix got all 68 teams correct, which is kind of wild. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but nobody got all 68. Nevada was the exception there. The people that got close had Rutgers in instead. I'm going to take Arizona State there. Arizona State's been up and down. They've beaten Arizona this year, but they also have taken some bad losses. That win over Arizona was in Tucson. That was that crazy game at the buzzer with that half-court shot. I'm going to take Arizona -2, and that is the first four. Do we want to go right? Do you have any more thoughts there?
I was gonna take Arizona State as well.
Okay.
The Mountain West has not played well, so
all right.
I'm taking Arizona State. I think they're a better team, and I don't believe in the Mountain West. So give me the Sun Devils.
All right. So let's rip through every game here. Let's rip through.
Did we do the 16 seed tomorrow? Did you take Texas Southern, or is that what you said?
Oh, Texas Southern. Yes. Sorry, I didn't say that. Texas Southern.
Yeah.
Let's rip through every game. We don't need to spend a ton of time on every game, but let's rip through every game.
Reaction.
West Virginia and Maryland. I don't know. I don't know if we want to do the Lee Corso Kirk Herbstreit thing where you don't give a pick because you want to wait till Thursday. I'm going to take West Virginia in this game -2. I trust West Virginia more than I trust Maryland. I trust Bob Huggins more than I trust Kevin Willard.
Yeah, Maryland hasn't played well at anywhere besides their home court.
Yep.
West Virginia has traveled and has played decently on the road at times in the Big 12. So, neutral site, give me the team that's more battle-tested. Give me the Mountaineers.
Yep, taking the Mountaineers. All right, Furman and Virginia. Furman plus 5.5. 2 reasons I'm taking Furman plus 5.5. One is I think they could win this game outright. Have not decided if I'm going to pick that one yet, but I also think that this could be a classic Virginia game where you might get into that low possession and it could be less than a 2-possession game. 5.5 would get you there. I'm going to take Furman plus 5.5.
You're thinking squarely at a 62-58 ball game for the
that could
Cavaliers.
Very well be the score.
I'll take the Cavs, so I'll go on the opposite side of that.
Minus 5.5. Okay.
Yep.
Utah State and Missouri. Utah State is favored as the 10 seed in this game, minus 1.5. I don't know if I want to take the bait here. It almost makes me nervous because initially when I was looking at the bracket, I had Utah State in the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the line makes me a little nervous that everybody is on the same path thinking that way. But I do like Utah State to win this game. I may just take Utah State money line there at minus 125.
Trace has been telling me all year long about how good the Aggies from Utah State are. And Missouri's the team that just keeps sneaking up. You're like, man, I think Missouri's terrible. And they're like, no. People are like, they're good. I promise. Like, they're good. Give me the Aggies. Howard, Kansas?
Howard and Kansas.
So I looked it up because I always feel like people take the points with the underdog. So I looked up how number 1 seeds are since 2005. 1 seeds against the spread are 34 and 31. So it's pretty much a crapshoot. The one thing I have realized when looking at every result with these big spreads between the 1 and 16 seeds are the bigger the spread, the more likely that the 1 seed is to cover. So if you're looking at 33 points, 31 points, those kind of games, like Gonzaga playing Norfolk State, which was a 33-point spread, take Gonzaga. When you get to the midpoints, then it looks like you might want to take the 16 seed, which is what Howard is.
So what are you going to do here?
So I'm looking at this. A team has never covered 22 points. The 1 seed has never done that. So give me Howard.
Howard then. I'll ride with you. Charleston, San Diego State. I'll take Charleston plus 5. Again, same line of thinking as Furman. Almost the exact same line of thinking.
I like College of Charleston as well. Give me Charleston.
Arizona and Princeton. Are we going to get burned by the Wildcats again? Arizona minus 14.5. The reason I think I like Arizona in this game is because there are going to be 1 million points scored. Princeton is a Ivy League team that just likes to get up and down the floor and score a lot. The over-under in this game was 154.5. I like Arizona at 14.5 because I think if Princeton is not hitting shots, it could get out of hand toward the end. I like Arizona 14.5.
Yeah, I like Arizona too. You've talked me into taking the Wildcats more often than not. I like the way they score. I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
So if you money line all the 1s and 2 seeds together.
Yes. So
you can't get the 2 1 seeds that don't know their opponent yet. But right now, if you money line all the available games for this weekend, you get about minus 192. So I assume if you get the other 2 teams in there, you're looking right around even money. You're probably going to have to pay just a tad bit of juice. And you're then just betting that there's not going to be an upset between the 2 seeds because the 1 seeds never really lose. So.
I'm ready. I am. We're not there yet, but there's one to keep an eye on there. Illinois and Arkansas.
Okay.
Illinois plus. Oh, my God. This is a disgusting game. Illinois plus 2.
I'm taking Arkansas.
Oh, my God.
You're out on the Hogs. You want to call them?
Oh, I don't know what to do in that game.
Come on, pig. Piggy.
I think it's Wooey.
It's Woo Pig Suey.
Pig Suey.
It's Wooey? It's Pig Suey.
Woo Pig Suey. Yeah. But I don't know how they do the chant.
All right. Hey, to your point, I don't know if you guys believe in systems, but there's a system that has a grade A, 58% win rate, 14% ROI. For those that aren't paying attention, that's better than your stock market. Yeah, definitely better than Silicon Valley Bank. It has a lot of active picks in it. Here's what the system is. The seed is between 7 and 16. The spread is between 0 and 11. And the team's pace is between 0 and 72.2 points per game. The theory is that slower-paced teams should be able to keep the game a little bit closer. Otherwise, playing another team that doesn't push the ball up the court. It has an active pick right now of a good amount of teams. Illinois plus 1.5 is one of those.
Okay.
Just food for thought.
All right. I'm going to stick with Illinois plus 2, but that's a disgusting game. Auburn and Iowa could like kind of low key be a good game because either one of these teams could win their next game and get to the Sweet 16. I think, depending on shot making. The other thing about Auburn is kind of a weird thing here. Auburn is playing in Birmingham. Alabama is also playing in Birmingham. They're not going to end up playing each other. One, because they're in the same conference. Two, that whatever. But if they both win, if Alabama and Auburn both win, they're going to be playing in the same session on Sunday or on Saturday in Birmingham, and it's going to be Tide and Tigers fans in the same arena cheering against each other's teams, even though they're not playing each other. Very strange. I know there's no like bracketing principle that the committee has to look at for that, but it is kind of weird how that ended up. That if both teams win, they'd be in the same session. I'm going to roll with Iowa here, +1. I kind of trust Iowa and their shot making a little bit more, but I do love Bruce Pearl. This is a pick 'em. I'd take it on the money line if this gets any higher than 1.
I'm taking the over in this one. You know, it's funny. A lot of people are trendy about Iowa. They could beat anybody in the tournament. And Iowa also has the worst loss in college basketball history when they were 38-point favorites and lost outright earlier this season. I'm taking the over in that one. It's 152. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that.
All right, let's keep rolling down here. Oral Roberts and
Mouth
Duke.
Bobs.
I don't know if I want to take the bait here. I think Duke might do this. I think Duke might win this by 8-10. I just think Duke knows what they're getting in Oral Roberts.
They're not going to sneak up on it.
I don't think
everyone's talking about it.
I don't think they're sneaking up on anybody. I'm going to take Duke here.
I'm taking Duke as well. Trace?
I found that this system on here, guys, has a lot of picks, and it's been tracking since 2010. The record's 204, 145. It is currently, like I said, a 14% ROI, almost a 60% win rate. And I'll go through the picks you've already made, or I don't want to do that. If I'll tell you what, I'm just going to ping you guys every time you make a pick that's following the system. You already just made one with Iowa. And this game is not on this system. So I'm kind of with Paul, though. I feel like it's the trendy thing to say Oral Roberts is going to take Duke to the woodshed. It just seems weird that the line's 5.5, 6.
Yeah.
Vegas, in my opinion, felt like Oral Roberts was going to win this game. They would have made it like 2. So I don't know.
It's weird because everyone's talking about Oral Roberts, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Duke's who's playing better?
Right.
Who's playing better college basketball than the Duke Blue Devils?
Maybe the Zags,
right?
Outside of the Zags,
right? It's a tough draw for
Oral
Roberts.
Great point.
All right, then in the 7:25 game, and this is what I hinted to a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Texas, and Rick said this on the rebound rundown today, if I am Texas, I am furious that Xavier drew Kennesaw State and Texas drew Colgate. Colgate is a good basketball team. They have an elite offense. They do not have a good defense. They have an elite offense. For a 15 seed, this is a very, very good basketball team. I think Colgate covers 13.5 here. If there is a 2 seed that loses on the first day, it will be Texas. I'm not going to pick them to lose. I will pick Colgate to cover, but this is one that if you're going to parlay the 1s and 2s, this is the one I would at least look at and maybe say, okay.
Yeah.
Colgate, plus 13.5.
Yeah, Colgate has the second shortest money line odds out of all the 15 seeds. I think the only one that is shorter than that is Vermont against Marquette. I knew nothing about Colgate. You mentioned that they have an elite offense. This is not too picky, so we don't get too into the weeds on the picks. Give me the over in this one then, 147.5.
Yeah, Colgate has only lost 1 game since December 22nd. That was a 1-point loss to American. They don't really have any massive wins this year. If you want to say just name brand wise, they did beat Syracuse by 12, but they're 26-8. Those 8 losses came in the non-conference. They got blown out by Auburn, 93-66. That was in Auburn, obviously. They're playing very well right now. Something to look at. Boise State and Northwestern. It's funny. Sean Spurlock has been going on and on and on and on about how much he doesn't like the Mountain West and how he thinks the Mountain West is going to flame out. And I keep saying, oh no, I watch so much Mountain West basketball. They're going to be. Then I see them playing Northwestern. I watched Northwestern win a lot of games down the stretch. I'm take the Wildcats -1.5.
Yeah, so you're like, man, they just drew some bad
like
plays, but then you start thinking like, who is Mountain West going to be squared up against that you're like, that's a good play for them. So, but yeah, I'm taking the Wildcats too.
NKU and Houston.
Don't do it. Don't do it, guys.
Houston -19.5.
Oh my God!
Even without Marcus Sasser.
Come on.
You want to hear more wild? Give me under 122. Both teams play so slow, and Houston scores.
Yeah,
but they play slow.
Like this could eat no joke.
NKU plays slow.
I'm not kidding you. This could be a game that Houston wins 65-33.
Yeah,
and that covers, and it goes way under.
Right. Give me under 122.
Yeah.
Ye of little faith.
Mm.
NKU's gonna cover this. It's gonna be just like you said, a tight game, but 20 points.
Yeah.
20 points.
Yeah.
No systems on any of these.
The University of Cincinnati just lost by like 23 points to Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
NKU beat them. Oh my God! I just talked into it. I just talked myself into it.
Exactly.
NKU beat them.
Come on now.
All right,
NKU's going to cover that.
NKU -19.5.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh my God! Could you imagine? This company would go under. NKU -19.5. Houston -19.5.
Yeah, I don't know if that's one to put a lot of stock into either way. I could see NKU keeping this game close. If things go right, I could also see it not going good at all.
Yeah.
Let's get together on Thursday night at 9:20 and root for bricks. Under 122. Bunch of bricks. We'll cheer it up. Take a drink every time they miss. Let's go.
All right, the Raging Cajuns in Tennessee. Raging Cajuns.
Some people, this is a trendy pick.
+11.
That's a trendy pick. Tennessee covering 11 points.
Yeah.
Their offense, man.
Cajuns +11.
I can't see them covering 11.
It's one of those ones where you're right. Like, it feels like we should definitely take Louisiana because Tennessee beating somebody by 11 is like Tennessee or a normal team beating them by 20.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
Not a system play. No system plays for that game either.
Actually,
I take that back.
Uh-oh.
Take that back. Again, this goes back till 2005. This is only up 12 units all time, 90 and 67, 57% win rate, 12% ROI. And the pick that they are saying is Tennessee -11.5, and the system is fading trendy underdogs.
Yeah, that's the Raging Cajuns are a trendy underdog. That is 100%. My group chat has been blowing up with Raging Cajun.
However, in 2017, this system was up 22.3 units. It is down to 12.5 units in 2022. So it's done a little bit of a nosedive the past 4 years. Is it going to trend back up, or is it going to keep nosediving? I don't know, fellas.
I've bet Tennessee -3 and 4 a few times, and they've been down 6 points, and you just chalk it up. You just turn the game off. Like, they ain't coming back from this. That is a mountain that they cannot climb. Yeah, give me the Raging Cajuns.
All right, Penn State and Texas A&M. Texas A&M -3. I have Texas A&M in the Sweet 16. I have them beating Texas in the next game.
Yeah,
I'll
take Texas A&M. Both teams made their conference tournament, playing ball at the right time. I'll take the team that has been playing better the entire year.
I think Texas A&M was underseeded, and they got underseeded because they didn't play anybody in the non-conference. I understand that. I think that's good on the committee that they did that to them, but I also think that Texas A&M is a better team than Penn State. Penn State will probably have the best player on the floor. That doesn't matter to me in this situation unless it came down to the very end, but even if it does, it's a 3-point spread. Give me the Aggies -3 here. And then in the final game of the day, a clunker, UNC Asheville and the Fighting McCronins. Come on. What are we doing here?
I'm taking UCLA. I'm taking UCLA. And the under.
Yeah,
we always bet the under.
-134.5.
There we go.
Penn State's really old, though, just so you guys know. I'm not trying to get you off that topic, but that's a team that reminds me of they are the mid-major team that's not a mid-major. They got a lot of 6-year guys. They got a lot of 5th-year seniors. They're very old, experienced. I don't know if I'm not saying that the Aggies aren't good. I think they are, but I wouldn't shock me if Penn State makes the Sweet 16. Just saying.
It would not shock me if the winner of that game makes the Sweet 16.
Penn State had 2 absolutely banana ends to their final 2 games in the Big Ten tournament.
They should have won.
They were up 18 points on Indiana with like 4 minutes to go. I turn it off, and then I just start getting like texts from my Indiana friends.
Oh,
and they came down, and Indiana was down 1 with 10 seconds to go, and then of course Penn State ended up winning. And the same thing happened, but flipped it the other end. They're down 15 points, 16 points the entire game against Purdue, and they get a final shot. The same game happened twice.
Yep.
They were just on the different side both times.
All right, so that's all on Thursday. That's all of our Thursday notes. Now we head to Friday. USC and Michigan State gets us started off on Friday. Really good game here, or at least it should be a close game. I'm going to take Tom Izzo here, -2.
He always seems to win these games, does he not?
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm taking USC.
Xavier and Kennesaw State. Xavier -11.5. That's at 1240. I don't think Xavier could have possibly gotten a better matchup here. I don't think Xavier could have possibly gotten a better matchup here. But 11.5 points for a team that shoots a lot of threes in Kennesaw State. Do they do something? Is this like a 17, 18-point game with 2 minutes to go and Kennesaw State bangs a couple of threes and they cover the 11? I guess I could see that, but I would lean Xavier here at -11.
Yeah, I'm taking Xavier -11. I bet Xavier in Indiana every game, so might as well keep it rolling.
Baylor and UCSB. This is also going to be an under-the-radar, trendy underdog pick at UCSB +10.5 because Baylor has no clue what they're doing on defense. No clue. And
Sounds like a team I watch a lot.
I have started to regress on my Baylor take. I think they cover 10.5 here. I do. I think they win maybe in the 15-point range. But if UCSB won this outright, I'm not going to sit here and be stunned.
You know what? I don't have a play either way on this game.
Okay.
Give me the over, 143. If I don't have a play, I'm just going to root for points.
All right. VCU and St. Mary's. Give me the Rams +4. And I'm gonna fade St. Mary's until they win the national championship.
I think I'm with you. Give me the Rams.
Give me the Rams +4. A10 finally gets it together.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. VCU and St. Mary's is that could be a fun game. That's Friday at 2 o'clock. That could be a fun game. Vermont and Marquette. I think Marquette may have gotten the easiest path of any team, or the most favorable path of any team in this entire tournament. If I look Alabama as the number 1 overall seed, the committee did them some favors, but even they might have to play in a half-full arena, half full of Auburn fans on Sunday or Saturday, whenever that game is. I think Marquette potentially got the easiest path of anybody in this tournament. I like Marquette here. Marquette has not won an NCAA tournament game. You ready for this? Do you know what I'm about to say?
Since Dwayne Wade or something?
No, not they didn't win one last year.
That was a tough bet. Go. Since when?
2013. 10 years since Marquette has won. Never won one under Wojo. Haven't won one under Shaka.
Tom Crean broke them.
Tom Crean broke the Golden Eagles. This is a team that won the Big East regular season. They won the Big East tournament title. Give me Marquette here -11. I think they break the streak.
Give me the Catamount, Mountain Lions, Cougars, whatever you want to call Vermont. Give me them if they're laying 11 points.
Okay. NC State and Creighton. Creighton -5. NC State snuck in there on the 11 line. Give me Creighton -5. I think they bounce back from that loss to Xavier.
Wolfpack outright.
For as much as we've watched college basketball, I've not seen the Wolfpack play one single second. Do you have any insight on that? Is there any tidbits?
I don't. I have not watched a whole lot of them lately. I don't.
I genuinely don't even know anyone on their team.
No, I don't know. No, I don't. I'm not going to sit around here and beat around the bush.
The only thing I know about the Wolfpack is that Reed Mouse thought they were in the tournament about 30 minutes before Selection Sunday.
I was right. It wasn't even a sweat. Give me the Wolfpack. I'm turning over those winnings from that bet to NC State outright.
So NC State did not close the season well. They lost to Clemson by 25, and then they lost to Duke by 4. They beat Virginia Tech by 20 in the first round of the ACC, or the second round of the ACC tournament, but lost to Clemson then on Thursday, Reed, by 26.
Mm-hmm.
So they got blown out by Clemson twice. Otherwise, they've been...
How did Creighton do in the Big East tournament?
Yeah, they lost by 22.
Oh. Okay, yeah, give me NC State.
I don't know. I'll roll with Creighton. I think they rebound. Iona and Connecticut. Maybe one of the most intriguing games of the weekend. Rick Pitino taking a short trip up the road to Albany to face a rowdy UConn crowd not too far away from home. Give me Iona plus 9.5. I just think it's too much, but I do think UConn wins the game.
Give me UConn.
Paul, I was listening to the Field of 68. Shout out those guys.
God, they do such a good job.
Do you, the guy, very knowledgeable, I don't know his name, he made it seem like that he thought the Iona crowd was going to be way bigger than UConn. Is that even a thing? Is that
Iona
possible?
will bring a massive crowd.
So
yes.
Is it like literally in their backyard? Is that why?
Iona's a little bit north of New York City, like a couple miles north of New York City. So they just got to go right up the road to Albany.
So they're in the Norwood of New York City.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that when he said that, it shocked me that he thought that there would be more Iona fans than UConn fans. That's what his take was. I have no idea about it.
They're both. I mean, like, Albany's probably, an hour or so from New York City, and then Connecticut, I don't know what part, where are they at? In Hartford? In Hartford, Connecticut? Is that where UConn is? That's probably only like a 2-hour drive. New England's not very big.
Stores, but it's Iona will bring a huge crowd. Providence in Kentucky, 7:10 on Friday night. This gets the night games going. I'll be at this game. This is the Bryce Hopkins revenge game. For those of you that don't know, Bryce Hopkins played for Kentucky. He transferred to Providence. Bryce Hopkins will be more motivated than any player on Kentucky in this game. He may single-handedly win Providence this game. If you tell me
the next two, what? Go ahead.
If you tell me that Kentucky wins this game by 20, I say, yeah, all right. If you tell me they lose this game by 20, I say, yeah, all right. If you tell me this game is
quadruple overtime,
the best game of the weekend, I say, yeah, that checks out. No earthly idea.
No read on this game.
No earthly idea what's going to happen here.
This spread and the next spread are the most interesting spread. When the spreads first came out yesterday, you're scrolling through, just looking at taking a gander, and you see Providence only 4-point underdogs against UK.
Did I see Ed Cooley's going to
That's
it's the rumor mill.
He's going to Georgetown.
That's the talk.
It's the rumor mill.
So it's not official.
No, I mean no, not till he's still
right.
No,
wild if he makes that move.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting what Chris Mack said about that move.
Yeah.
Mack last night.
Is Chris Mack around in town? Where's he?
He lives around town.
He's moving to Florida. I don't know if he lives here right now, but he's moving to Florida. His one daughter is going to go to IMG down there to play her senior year of volleyball down at IMG Academy. What?
I used to cut his grass.
Chris Mack?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This guy's got weird stuff all over the place. He gets cigars offered to him by Joe Mixon. That comes out of left field. Now he's cutting Chris Mack's grass. Next week, who knows what? He's going to be probably the butler for his guy Joe.
Yeah, I don't know what you tell me. Give me the Friars in this one.
All right, Drake and Miami. Drake +2 against the Hurricanes.
What is this spread? Give me the Bulldogs.
Drake to the Sweet 16.
Give me the Bulldogs. You're taking the money line.
Yeah, Drake money line here. Drake money line. Miami has an injury. Drake money line. I hate to do it. I think Jim Larinaga obviously has tournament success in his career. Boy, Drake is just setting up too well. You got to pick a 12-5 somewhere because it's going to happen. It happens every year. You say, oh, is this year it doesn't happen? And then it ends up happening. You got to pick one. Might as well. I'll take Drake.
I'll take Drake.
Yeah, I put a lot of money on Drake. If I'm going to pull a Seyo here.
Did you take the 2?
No, I took him to take the. I took him to make the Sweet 16.
Ooh,
and yeah, there was some decent odds on that. And I was just looking at their pathway to get to the Sweet 16, and it seemed like I was on the right side of that bet. Here's the problem I'm in, though. Like many of you that watch games, and there's a reason we have a do not bet list. There's only one of two things that can happen after this Sunday for me. I'm either going to hate Drake and say that they're the worst program, they were frauds, or I'm going to literally have a probably shirt delivered on Wednesday with Drake and be their biggest fan.
You're either going to be
no in between.
You're either going to have a Bulldog shirt, or you're going to be listening to Drake's Marvin's Room.
Yeah,
I hate the Drake.
I'm so invested in Drake that yesterday Drake was trending on Twitter.
That's right.
And I genuinely thought that it was about their basketball team. It's
Not-
like, what happened with Drake? What's going on?
There's an injury.
Not the second biggest music artist in the world.
Turns out it was
Behind Dua Lipa?
the guy that does music.
Behind Taylor Swift. All right.
Grand Canyon and Gonzaga at 7:35 on Friday night. Zags -5. Now, I have been a loyal follower of Grand Canyon basketball for about 10 years. They were ineligible for the tournament because they were transitioning to D1. Lopes up.
You're taking them?
Lopes up, baby.
What's their mascot?
The Antelopes.
The Antelopes.
Lopes up.
I think the Antelopes fall into a big old hole.
I think they probably do too,
Big
but I
old
can't go
hole.
against the brand, baby. Lopes up.
Just like their name suggests, they fall into a big old hole. Give me Gonzaga.
Lopes up. FAU and Memphis might be the best game of the weekend, at least on paper. Florida Atlantic +2. Given to me. Give me the Owls.
I feel like a lot of people have already cemented Memphis into the Sweet 16. Memphis is going to upset Purdue. Meanwhile, they've got a 2-point. They got to cover 2 against FAU in the first round. They're just looking past that game. Give me the Owls.
Give me the Owls here. Lopes up. Montana State and Kansas State. Wildcats -8.5.
Yeah, I'll take the Wildcats as well.
And then the last game. Reed, you got to wait all the way to the end.
You know what's funny about this game? Two things are going to – like, I'm going to be making a dumb bet on this game regardless of what happens, because two things are going to happen. Either – and I bet Indiana every game. I'm either going to be down a lot of money and I'm going to be chasing, and I'm going to bet Indiana chasing, which is a terrible position to be in. Or I'm going to be up a lot of money, and it's just going to be playing with house money, and you're just like, all right, let's go, Hoosiers. TJD, Trace Jackson Davis, take us home.
9:55 on Friday night, the final game of the opening weekend, Indiana and Kent State. The Golden Flashes might be the most popular upset pick of the weekend. Are you doing it? You're taking Indiana? You're taking Indiana.
Yeah, absolutely.
Indiana. I also think Indiana wins this game. This is too many people on Kent State. I think if you're looking at upsets, I'd look at Furman over Virginia. I'd look at Charleston over San Diego State. And I would look at Drake. I'm not sure the spot here is Kent State. I'm just not sure that that's where the spot is.
So one last thing, since we ran through all the games, we finally got on Betfred to put on the 1 seed versus the field. You can take the field at -140, or you can take the 1 seed at +120. Now, you can do that pick outright, or, to be honest, say you're going to put $100 on the 1 seed at +120. You can divvy that up $25 on each of the 1 seeds, and the only way that you pretty much won't make your money back. Actually, I was looking at a different book. I was looking just at a broad book. Purdue's the only way that you really make some money. Kansas, you're making your money back. Alabama, if Houston wins, then you're still making like $50. But you can make it to where, like, if Purdue wins or Kansas wins, you'll make more money on the back end of that. So just something to look at.
You're saying it's smarter to bet the futures of each team than
Correct.
to bet the...
Well, so like if Kansas wins, they're +800. What does that win you? That wins you the exact same amount of money. So I guess that was when I was looking at other books.
You're going to lose $75 regardless on those. You're betting 25. So
it only makes sense. It only makes sense for Purdue. So I talked myself off of that ledge, but that was something I was looking at. But like, say like if you then you can pick, like, say you don't like Purdue, then you can take UCLA. You kind of can customize your 4 picks there.
it's almost like they have a sports book. You can
Right.
pick what you want.
Right. Absolutely.
It's earth-shattering news. Casey's got one hell of a parlay cooked up.
Let's go.
He had
Also-
$10 in there. I'm gonna let him tell the story. He had $10 in there. I looked at what the odds were. I said, dude, you got to put $25 in there. And just Casey, take it away.
The potential returns on $25 is.
Tell him what the $10 was first, because that's what you had in first.
The $10 is $737,000.
Okay.
I said, Casey, you got to make it 25.
25 is $1.84 million.
Okay, so we are literally bankrupting Fred here.
Yes, this would put them out of business.
No,
I don't think
come
so.
on.
No, but
I don't think.
Come on.
It
would put Chatterbox out of business because we wouldn't have a producer.
It'd put Casey out of a job.
I wouldn't leave, but
I ain't leaving.
I ain't leaving.
He's gonna show up every day. He's like, man, I could be in Cozumel, Mexico right now, but I'm here at the show.
Casey's gonna be producing from the Bahamas. He's like, yeah, I'll come in maybe.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the parlay?
Well, it's a combination of you guys making picks together, some stuff that I like.
It's every game.
It's 21 different games, which is practically the entire bracket. I left out a few games because
A couple of them high spreads he didn't touch.
Yeah, But
did he sprinkle in their money line then at least?
He did.
I did sprinkle in some money lines,
some close
and
lines. He took the money line.
Don't want to take the big lines.
No, he didn't take any big lines. If he took a big line right now, that 1.8 would turn into 10 million.
Yeah.
What do you got, Casey? Go ahead and run through them really quickly.
West Virginia, Utah State,
Aggies.
These are all spreads.
Charleston, Illinois. I got Iowa winning money line. That's plus 100. Duke, Colgate, Northwestern, Northern Kentucky, Tennessee money line, which is not great. It's minus 650. Penn State, the UCLA under, because got to respect the UCLA under. Michigan State money line, Xavier money line, Baylor money line, Marquette money line, Iona, Drake money line, Florida Atlantic, Kansas State money line, Kent State.
I don't see any losers.
Are we in a trust tree here? Where does that lose?
I don't see it.
That's a winner. That's a winner.
I don't see it.
That's retirement money, Case.
I mean,
Casey,
right
honestly, don't even watch the games. Just place the bet and then plan your trip. You're going on a trip after this one hits.
I mean, can I have my 250 put it on this? I mean, I'm
Oh
really
my God.
retiring.
Yes!
Oh, yes!
I mean,
250 free bet on the whole slate. On the whole slate.
Casey'd be able to buy the Reds.
$18.4 million, baby.
Could you imagine?
You can
What do you do with your
What
life?
happens when
You can almost pay Joe Burrow for a quarter of the year with that.
That's ridiculous thinking about that.
$18.4 million? So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
We get down to Friday night, right? And you have probably, what, 3 or 4 gadding? I don't remember all the games there at the end. What is Fred thinking in his head when Casey's 18 for 18 and there's 3 games
It's
left?
actually going to be funny. Casey will have 3 games left. And, Casey, you'll have to be calling in to Fred. Calling in the customer. Hey, I've got this 20-leg parlay. It's going to hit $18 million. I want to see if there's a hedging opportunity here.
They'd be calling him. I'm pretty sure they'd be walking into Wings and Rings or wherever we'll be at. Fred himself might be showing up. They'll be trying to get him off the table.
They're like, hey,
you're
man.
like the guy rolling craps, or you're at the blackjack table and you're just laughing it up with your boys, and they're just like, all right, we got to find a way. You guys need a free room? What do you guys need to do here? We need to get you off this table.
Right.
Speaking of craps.
Yeah. Speaking of craps.
Last night.
Did you guys play that game together?
I didn't play it with him, but I did look at his profile, and my man was on a mission last night.
I was up to the wee hours of night.
Oh my God! So yesterday I told them about some craps strategy I found on YouTube that you can play all day on. That's doesn't win a whole lot of money and everything. And I'm explaining it to them, and instead of explaining it to them, I show them and I pull up this app that I just found on the App Store, and these two immediately go "Oh, you can play craps on your phone?
Not real money.
I was like, well, duh, you can't be yeah, it's a game. You can play anything. any card game you want, any table game. And they're like, oh, man. So then they asked me to send it to them. And next, these guys are playing together at 11 o'clock last night.
All right. Can I give you a
How long did Casey play?
I'm going to give you, I don't know how long you played, but I can just judge it off of me. I played for probably about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes last night, just trying out different strategies. Clearly, and you get to learn the game. That's why I did it, just to try to learn all
education.
It was an educational moment for me.
Sure.
So, I guess I have to go back. Hold on one second. I played, personally, 27 games last night. All right? My biggest win was 1.2 thousand. This is fake money, just so we're all aware.
Right.
I don't want anybody calling me acting like I'm truly outside of my wits' end. Casey, he played 35 games. His biggest win was $6.5 thousand. This guy was just throwing money around the table. He's got $42,000. I got $18,000, and I was rolling for a long time last night. I was playing well.
This is ridiculous that we're talking about an iPhone app.
Just telling you, if you want to play,
they sponsor the show.
We'll get you on there. We'll get you on there.
Ask us in the Discord.
Casey, isn't like the graphics and all that like really nice? Like,
Yeah,
it's legit.
nice.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And you can see, like I'm sure once we try this out off air, we're gonna be able to see our character across the table.
So how cool! So on Oculus, they have like where you can play poker and stuff like that.
Do they have craps?
It would be awesome if you can just like throw the craps on the Oculus.
They got to be able to do that.
That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
All right, we got to make a pact. If this is a trust tree, where we all have to tell each other, not one single person's allowed doing this with real money. We're not doing that. We have to tell each other that we're not doing real money. If Casey gets hot one night and he's like, guys, we should switch over and play with real money, it's like,
wait, you can't play
No,
with
you
real money.
can't do that.
I'm saying if there ever becomes an opportunity ever, we're not doing that.
We're not playing together, and then like someone gets hot and we're going to the casino like an hour from now.
Right.
Like that's never happened.
Not with that attitude.
Well, let's not take everything off the table.
It's educational purposes.
Don't get ahead of yourself, fellas. Like, come on, settle down. Settle down.
In all seriousness, other states have like your sports books that you have. Like Betfred would have a casino attached to it. You go up to Michigan, you go to Pennsylvania, you go to New Jersey. They have that feature. Thank goodness that did not happen here in Ohio. It would be bad news for old me and Paulie.
I can't tell you how much the online casino does not need to come to the state of Ohio.
Correct. So if lawmakers are watching this, which I know you guys are, I know about the U.S. or the Ohio Senate is watching this show right now.
Absolutely.
Do not pass that law.
All right, everybody. We will be back tomorrow with our bracket preview. We'll be on Off the Bench with Thom. Casey and I will do our brackets. Maybe you guys going to do a bracket and we do it on Box Lunch, maybe? I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but maybe we do that.
Can I tell a quick story about Casey before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah,
His
sure.
Dad just brought this up in the chat.
No, yeah,
he
go
said,
ahead.
ask Casey about his paper trading stocks. He was Warren Buffett Jr. The first week that I knew Casey, I checked my phone. I checked my stocks that I currently owned, and Casey's like, "Ooh, what are you playing over there?" And I'm like, "Playing?" I was like, "I'm looking at stocks." He's like, "Yeah, what are you playing?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he told me this elaborate thing where him and his dad were taking a course on how to day trade and stuff like that. And he had a bunch of money and he was day trading a couple years ago. And he's like, didn't go well.
Casey?
That's my first interaction with Casey ever.
In COVID, Casey?
No, this was right before COVID, I think. Like the summer right before COVID.
Okay, so during COVID, I did the same thing. I spent a month. I took out a notebook and I was taking notes on YouTube videos on trading options. Also did not go well.
Yeah, I mean,
what a life.
Just buy the Betfred stock, hold it, own 10% of the company.
How wild is it looking back on COVID? Like just
that was 3 years ago yesterday.
What a wild time to be alive during that little, what I'd call like a 4-month window where there genuinely no one knew anything.
No one knew anything.
It was just throwing stuff up against the wall, seeing if it stuck. If it didn't, you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to work. I don't know if I'm going to be alive. I don't know.
I don't know what it was like with kids, but as a single young adult, it was awesome. I mean, you just did nothing. Like, you just woke up, played video games. Like, you just had no responsibilities at all. Had no responsibilities. Was getting paid by the government. It was great. We should do it all the time. No one have any jobs. Just see what happens. See how quickly it all crumbles.
Those were legitimately like the 5 or 6 best months of my life. I mean, no joke.
I mean, just play golf all
we
the
did
time.
nothing.
Play golf. Just getting money from the
The problem is that you didn't know it at the time. Like, you didn't know that, it's all going to work itself out. It'll be fine. I'm sure some could care less, but as you said, with kids and business and all that, it would have been nice to have been like, okay, it's all going to work itself out. Just take the next 3 months and just relax. Don't worry about nothing.
I had friends that went down to Florida and got an Airbnb because you remember no one was traveling, so everything was dirt cheap. Travel was, Airbnbs, hotels, they were all dirt cheap. I had a friend stay in Florida 30 days. Their Airbnb cost $150 for 30 days.
What?
A block away from the beach. Crazy.
Wow.
All right.
I had a completely different experience, but we can talk about that off air.
All right, I got to do a rebound rundown interview at 1, so we got to get out of here. Thanks to everybody for listening today. We'll have Thom's show back tomorrow. Make sure you join us on Thursday afternoon at Buffalo Wings and Rings on 747. Mouse Cop.
I will never eat Sonic, Mouse Cop. I will never do it.
So, similar to you meeting Casey right away, Casey and I, in our first week here on the job back in August, we went to Sonic.
That was
we went to Sonic.
Experience, wasn't
we got
it?
Jollies in town.
We went to Sonic. I've been there many times. All right, I don't know where we're going to lunch today. I got to do this interview, get out of here, and then we will have box lunch after the show tomorrow. This has been Not Too Picky, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. See y'all tomorrow, everybody. Thanks for listening.